Welcome to The Real Study with your hosts, MrSniDBitS.
Yeah. I was pleasantly surprised. It's funny, it was fun, it kept the spirit alive.
BlackGirlMarvel.
I cried laughing. That was hilarious.
Tylermakesfilms.
It's like so much depth. It's like nowadays it's, you got A shot, B shot.
Allthemoviethings.
There's some great wide shots in this.
JeannineDaBean.
I like that there were those kinds of tangible ideas.
And me, the Real Study movie voice guy.
But this was the first time where I got to see it told in a way where I was like, oh man.
Let's go to the poster wall.
Good evening and welcome to The Real Study. My name is MrSniDBitS, and with me as always is BlackGirlMarvel, All the Movie Things, and JeannineDaBean. No Tyler Makes Films tonight, but we do have a special guest, Will Wilkins of Netheads, and of course the CTO of Kevin Smith's Smodco, which is of course where you'll find Netheads, along with a lot of other great podcasts. We're going to go over a few movies this evening. The choices from our guests this evening were Morbius and Madam Web, so the two newest Sony properties that are Marvel adjacent, if you will. We'll get into those here in a few minutes. But before we do that, we were going to go over to the main wall.
And they're right? It's fine.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. We'll move to the main wall and we'll talk to our guest, Will Wilkins. Will, can you tell us what you do as far as content creation and or tell us about your robots, which I see in your background there, which is great.
Yeah, they're all dead right now.
Oh no!
I didn't. No. I mean, I just don't have them on the charger. They've all got issues, and they don't get back to their own chargers. But they're supposedly powered by AI that makes them smart enough to do that. Well, I mean, that Will Wilkins everywhere, and generally, I just talk about stuff I like. So I'm really in for some reason to my robots, 3D printing. Talking nerd tech and stuff on my podcast Netheads, and in my spare time that I don't really have much of, I also have the honor, privilege, and duty to pretty much edit and post just about every bit of digital content that Kevin Smith puts out on the internet. So that's me in a nutshell, man.
That's awesome.
Oh, and I guess I should also mention that I also frequently co-host fandoms on Nerd Initiative with Mr. Marvelite himself, the great Tony Abdullah. So I'm all over the place. As a matter of fact, right before I came in here to sit down to do this, my wife said, "How many podcasts do you need to be on this week?" So
at least 7, right?
I guess apparently also I'm definitely in need of attention.
It's cheaper than therapy.
That's what I say.
Yeah.
And almost a little more real sometimes. Like you're going to get real responses from people sometimes on the internet. Maybe too real. That's okay. All right. So we do have some movies. If you haven't, please do go follow Will Wilkins on all platforms that he is on, as well as the rest of us. We'll get to more of that here in a moment. But we do have some movies everybody watched this week. So I know that Janine, you have your own podcast outside of The Real Study, and you guys have been doing some spaghetti westerns. You want to talk about the one you watched this week? Oh, no. I don't hear her.
Nope, not yet.
It's flickering back and forth there. That's okay.
We did before. That's the important thing to highlight.
Right.
We didn't just come into this blind.
No, yeah. Yeah, right.
So while we wait for Janine's microphone to come
intact.
back, we will go to Brian. And Brian, you watched the new, the 4th installment, I believe, of the
the Bad Boys,
Smith, Martin
Boys
Lawrence
from
movies.
Miami's finest. Bad Boys Ride for Die. That's what I'm calling it.
Ride for Die.
I get that.
Ooh.
Yeah, I watched in this one. I've loved Bad Boys, from day one. I burnt up the first movie, the VHS of the first one. The first one will always be my favorite.
Nice.
I recite
It's
random
the best
lines.
out of all of them.
Yeah, I love it. And I recite random lines from it just in my daily life. And then I've grown to love all of them. And there's something about the two of them, Martin Lawrence and Will Smith, that they're just they were made to make these movies, and they're like
do
just
this together.
insane.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this installment was it did make me want to it did make me realize that I kind of should have watched the third one a little more. I will say that, because there was a lot of callbacks to that third one that I was not remembering. So
Mm.
not that it really lost me or anything, but this one is right up there with all of them, really on par with the whole franchise, really. So a lot of crazy action. Same directors as the third one, and also the same directors as the as Batgirl that we didn't get to see.
Yeah.
Still mad about
Yeah,
that.
it's it doesn't make sense. I would have loved to see what they did with Batgirl, because after seeing this one, they did some. There's a couple behind the scenes stuff that I saw before the film came out. There's this crazy rig they used that I was couldn't wait to see in the movie, being used in the movie. And it's like this first.
Oh, you meant
person
the force,
rig.
the front person.
Yeah, the one
rig
that
where
Will
he's
Yeah,
Smith
it was
using.
Yeah, it was
Then
almost
he
like
did-
it was almost
yeah.
like a snorri cam / POV rig. So it would
that was dope. Yeah.
twirl around, and the camera would rotate, and it was
Mhm.
controlled by Will Smith himself. So wherever he put his
Oh,
that's
yeah.
super cool.
Yeah.
to see.
it was insane. It was so cool. So you instantly got this whip pan around, and you saw the POV of the weapon and everything, and then it would whip pan back to his, and then turn to a snorri
Can
cam,
I ask you a
basically,
question, Brian, about
Yeah.
that scene?
Mhm.
Did it add a little? Did it add some intensity?
Oh my God, yeah.
Having that angle, that camera, that type of movement. Did it add
Yeah,
intensity?
because the thing was, it was in the third act, and it wasn't overused. They
Mhm.
only used it during that one sequence, so which
Good.
was
That's
great.
smart.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so it's so the whole time I'm oh, I can't wait to see this part. But it really was, because the whole sequence was just balls to the wall insanity, and then you add this
Cool.
thing. You're just yeah. So it puts you right in there with what is going on, how are they surviving this whole sequence. But
That's cool. I gotta go see that soon.
yeah.
Yeah.
I will say some of the jokes didn't quite land for me. Some of them are kind of cringy, but you kind of move on, from it. But the action's great. The overall story is pretty solid, and it kind of connects some things throughout the franchise. There's a lot of there's some I won't mention the cameos, but there is a cameo that I was not expecting, and it involves the original 1995 Porsche that Will Smith drives in the first film. And the
Okay.
driver, I won't say who the driver is, but yeah, people that know who he is will love that. So yeah, it's a fun summer movie. It's doing well, actually. So it's yeah, check it out.
Mhm.
It's
I think it made 53 million, I believe.
yeah, domestic, and
Opening
then
weekend.
over 100 million
Yeah.
worldwide.
Well, and it's getting a decent rating for a fourth
Right.
installment. You would expect it to have dropped off
Kinda
to
drop.
sixes, but no, it's
Oh
Right.
yeah. Yeah.
yes,
He's
we
back.
totally can.
Hey,
Yeah, the only
the bean is back. Yeah.
and actually, when you think about the way the past couple of weekends have been, finally something having a decent turnout, you're oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Yeah.
can't believe we're celebrating 52 million in a way, but we are.
Right. I know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
It's kind of crazy, but
I-
there's a lot of
if we can
elements
get
at
to-
play.
If we can get those budgets down to 80 to 100 million, we can start celebrating a little bit more
That was the
often.
thing about this
Yeah.
one. The budget was only 100 million for this film. I say only, but still, it's when you compare it to so many other.
No, but if you
action
think
things.
for a fourth film too,
Right.
you always gotta up the ante,
Right.
which means upping the budget,
Mhm.
and this is only 100 million.
Yeah.
Right.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
It's
I
not
think
It's
that was-
already going to make its money back.
Yeah, and
for
I think
sure.
that's props to the directors too, who are able to kind of
for sure.
really get you a little more quality over quantity kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
It
that's-
probably
in
was
terms
80
of action.
million though, but that rig was probably the 20 that they needed.
It looks like
Well,
they
no,
invented
it was
too for
paying
that
Will
film.
Smith to be a cameraman. That's what
Right,
it was.
exactly.
There-
Yeah.
Credit
You
to
know,
Will Smith.
there it is.
The cut
There it
from-
is.
yeah.
Will. That makes more sense.
And
We're
That
gonna do
makes more
multiple
sense,
roles.
I really hate to say it too, but it's also good to see this kind of box office when you take into consideration that 2 years ago, Will Smith
Right.
had one of his greatest moments and also one of his worst moments on the
Right.
exact
Loads of
same
ones, yeah, at
night.
the same time.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah.
But, just
Oh,
like
yeah.
many things, people are happy to forget.
Well, maybe that's why it's called
Oh,
Ride or
for
Die.
sure.
People are going to ride or die with Will, and he was almost
Yeah.
like a little
Well, that-
nod to that in a sense.
Yeah, a little bit, because
Oh, shit.
another thing too about Will Smith is I think he's kind of leaning in. He's always been a loved his fans, and
Mhm.
audiences. He did a thing recently where he went to like a theater. It was a Cinemark theater.
And he
He
sat with
sat
them.
with them,
Yeah.
and no one knew. And then he walked out with them, and people like lost their minds. I was
Like,
losing my mind watching the
Lost their
video.
minds. Yeah.
Grouped
I was
in on
like,
him like that.
yeah, it
Yeah.
was so
Imagine
cool.
being
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my god. It's like just
I
doing
mean,
that
he
kind of
had to
stuff.
know the moment he opened
Yeah.
his mouth that
Oh
was
my god,
they
yeah.
were gonna mob
Yeah.
him.
Oh,
He
he
was like,
definitely knew.
Yeah.
I'm glad you
He
guys
does.
liked
He
it.
does this for like a lot of his films. He just doesn't. It's like social media world now. So it's like now he's like, okay, I could film it and show it so
Yeah.
people can see that I'm a nice guy. Like,
Yeah.
guys, I had a moment.
It's more real than these PR stunts a lot of actors and celebrities will use.
For sure.
Going and just sitting down and watching your fans watch it and see if they enjoy it and get the
Yeah,
the moments, those gasps,
Yeah.
those laughs, those
That first
Mhm.
person
that feels
view.
real.
Yeah.
I'd be so
Yeah.
nervous. Oh man.
You'd be nervous.
I
you
would
said?
too,
Oh
though.
my god, yeah.
I would be so nervous.
Yeah.
I would be so
What if they
nervous
don't
if I
laugh?
was Will
What if
Smith
they
watching
boo?
that.
What if
Man.
they
That's the thing. You don't know. Like,
right?
I mean,
Right.
I
Or
like,
what if somebody makes like a joke or something about the incident in the theater? Because people do that. Like,
Right.
yeah.
this how he met Chris Rock or something. You know what I mean? Like just something stupid, and he's in the theater with them. Like I wouldn't want
Yeah,
to hear
you
nothing
never
like
know.
that.
Yeah.
Hey, look, the guy he got penalized by the academy. Doesn't
exactly.
get to attend for so long.
Right.
He's doing the time. So
I know.
I always
Turn
told
around and
people
do
that I
something
was like,
Oscar-worthy
is that
in
like
your-
he didn't get punished?
right.
Yeah.
Punished.
Yeah. Like I
Like,
very much
he got
feel
punished, man.
there
I'm
should
almost
be
sorry I brought it up now.
accountability culture over cancel culture in a lot of cases. So
Yeah, because I mean,
No, I agree.
look at
I agree with
other.
that.
I mean, look at other celebrities and actors and whatnot that are out there
Ezra Miller.
who like, yeah,
He
that
the first
aren't-
person. As they are the
mean,
first person that comes.
a lot of people have talked about Brad Pitt in
Mhm.
recent days
Mhm.
too, about like
Mm-hmm.
nothing's really
Yeah.
been talked about
Yeah.
on all of
Right.
him, and he's
We can go back further. You can go back to when RDJ was younger and all the things that he did and all the chances he got. Like,
well, that's the thing. So
you know,
I feel like it's a
so-
little different with RDJ because he kind of did his time also and corrected his.
No. I'm just saying that. No. I'm just saying that, like, it's this to me. It's the same. Like people don't rehash his stuff.
Oh,
But
gotcha.
like
Yeah,
Will
yeah,
Smith
yeah.
is
Right.
no. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm not saying like they should be talking about it now.
No.
I'm just
no.
saying like he did a whole bunch of stuff and he got a lot of chances, like to
Right.
like
Mhm.
a lot of chances to
Come
get back
and-
right.
Yeah.
And
Right.
nobody's giving Will the same amount of chances. They're like, oh, he smacked somebody, he's done. Get him out of here. And I'm like,
Yeah.
Like two grown men,
give him a.
you know,
You know
like,
what I
It was just
Like,
in front of us.
I mean-
Like, who cares that it was in front of us? It's none of our
Right.
business, honestly.
I know.
So
mean? Exactly. It just
yeah. Okay.
go see the movie.
Yes,
Yes. Go see,
great
go
movie.
see the new Bad Boys. Janine, you were going to tell us about the spaghetti
Yes.
western that you watched this week.
Yeah, so I watched The Great Silence for my Classic Films podcast. I think my co-host actually popped into the chat on his UK
Yeah, I
time
think
for a
so,
minute,
yeah.
so that was nice.
Awesome.
But yeah, this movie really surprised me. It has all your very typical spaghetti western things in it, but it also subverted expectations. You expect westerns to be in this desolate desert kind of dry setting, but this had a snowy winter background. I definitely saw this was probably a film that Tarantino
Beautiful
took a lot of
Western?
inspiration from
Oh,
for
yeah.
Inspiration
Hateful
from-
Eight.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yes. But the story
Mhm.
basically follows two kind of feuding bounty hunters. One bounty hunter's kind of crazy. He's called Loco. He takes a bounty, kills this woman's husband. So she hires a bounty hunter, our hero, Silence, to kill Loco. Silence, he's called Silence because he does not speak. So his very cool Western protagonist trait is that he doesn't speak. So very subverting of expectations. The ending totally broke my heart, but I appreciated and respected it because it took a bold chance with that ending, and also just for the fact that it made me feel something really genuinely. The Western action was really good, and we actually have a Black female lead in this film. I think her name is
Oh.
Vanetta McGee. I know her best
Okay.
from the blaxploitation vampire film Blackula. She was the female lead in that.
Mm.
Also, before her death, she was married to Carl Lumley, who gave that great performance in Falcon and
Oh
Winter Soldier as
wow,
Isaiah Bradley.
I love him.
So
Oh,
yeah, so
crazy.
I just found out that they were married. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, I never expected to see a Black female, spaghetti
Yeah,
western. So
and a
that was also a
Western,
great,
yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
So that was also a great surprise as well. And surprisingly, also probably one of the best love scenes I've ever seen in a film. It was super tender and
Mm.
romantic because it's the trope of she's tending to his wounds,
Oh, yeah.
silences wounds after, you know,
Oh,
he's
man.
been injured.
I nickel. I did
Yes,
nickel every
and so
time.
yep,
But
and
somehow
so
he can
I'm attending to
still
my
get
wound.
it in even after being hurt,
exactly.
you know?
But
It's
for
somehow the
yes,
power of that is
Yeah.
It's a
exactly.
function
really
of percentages, honestly, though. Like, what percentage of your
Yes.
body's still working? That's what's important.
Yes. I mean, her
So,
husband's just died, but
and for
hey, you
those and
know.
for those
Um,
watching and for those listening, if you don't know, Janine loves her a good like love story. Just she loves
Yeah.
her a good
yes,
like
I
Yeah.
love the
if there are
love.
romantic
two
moments,
people
you know.
twinkling
Yes.
So
eyes
yeah,
at each other, she's like, "Wait a minute,
Yes, romantic
let me hear more."
subplot,
yeah,
not the focus of the film. I will make it the focus of the
yeah.
film. So yes, it was just a
Yeah,
very beautifully filmed love scene. You know, had
that's cool.
showed just enough, very romantic, tender, sweet. So I was not expecting that
Nice.
either. So just a solid western, really surprised me, and totally broke my heart. So definitely worth a
Mm.
watch.
All right, that's
Mm.
awesome. So the third film that we are going to talk about before we move on to our main films is a movie that I watched this week, which was the story of Roger Ebert's life itself, the documentary, which is 10 years old, but it's just one of those things where, you know, you get to live in and you forget about movies. Something happens.
Mhm.
And, you know, my dad died in 2018 of cancer, so I wasn't going to run out and watch a movie about somebody dying of cancer. It's not the easiest thing. So it was a
Right.
hard film to watch because I didn't expect it, you know, to hit me as hard as it did. But it's really a profound documentary in the sense that you don't have to be the like perfect person to still have a great impact on people, because he, you know, he was known as being kind of a shit, but he was like
Right.
everybody's favorite shit, so it was okay. And it sounded like Gene Siskel was just as much of a bastard. Like they were
Oh,
both
yeah.
bastards to
Oh,
each
Yeah.
other.
Mm,
They were
And watching
America's
the behind the
shits.
scenes, they
Yeah.
they really were. But watching them behind the scenes, you know, trying to cut just promos for their show was just
Yeah.
like I wanted to leave the. I was like, this is. I couldn't sit
I
in
can't.
this environment.
Oh wow.
I couldn't do it. They were mean to each other, like really mean. And then they cut to like smiling. And next on Siskel and Ebert, like
My
how
gosh.
could you work like that? But
acting,
Yeah.
you know,
acting, man.
in a
And
sense,
If the
yeah,
money
they were.
flowing.
yeah, well,
Right.
yeah, because you think at one point, you know, it's all about making sure you get that paper, but at the same time, they started that on PBS, so it's not like you know,
Right.
Yeah.
you don't hear about all that PBS money rolling in. So
Yeah.
they
It
obviously
wasn't until
were
they got
looking
You
at
got
the
to make
long
it
haul.
count.
that it got
Yeah.
big.
Yeah.
But what's wild to me were, you know, I always, you know, being somebody who loves movies and likes to review movies, we all feel that kinship to the great critics of the past, you know, kind of to some degree. Either you hated what they said or you loved what they said. And I always felt wishy-washy. It depended because Roger Ebert, I remember, hated Batman and I loved Batman. And it ate me up inside that he hated Batman so much. He called it a dark movie, which is funny because he didn't see Morbius, and that movie is ridiculously dark. But we'll get to that.
Oh my Lord. I'm so sorry.
But I think the thing that blew my mind was how much he actually did for the smaller filmmaker. Like he would review films that nobody else was reviewing, and it would elevate filmmakers all over the place. Ava DuVernay is in the film as a person who was completely influenced by him. She went to the Oscars with her mother when she was 8 years old and screamed out at him when she saw him, and he came over and took a picture with her, and it like changed her life. And she even like talked to him later in life and, you know, wrote another movie. He reviewed it. It was about her aunt who influenced her. His aunt influenced him, and so on. Like it just kind of became this cool thing where they had this time in life together. And it's like I'm feeling emotional right now because I was destroyed by this movie. Like when I was done, I was bawling at the end. So beware of that at least, because you do watch him in his final days.
Right.
But it is a profound documentary about film, which I did love. So there's that. Will, I didn't even ask you. Did you watch anything this week besides these two films?
No, just these movies and trying to get through the rest of Sweet Tooth. So, you know.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
No movie. I can't believe these are the movies I have to speak of, but they are.
Yeah.
That's okay. All movies can have good discussions. Even good movies can have boring discussions. So like
That's true.
You know,
Like, wow, that was good.
right. Right. Everybody agrees
All
it's
right.
boring. I say this a lot on the show, but comedies are harder because you'll be like, that was a funny joke.
Yeah, you don't want to feel like that old Chris Farley bit. It's like, hey, remember in that movie where you said
Yeah.
that thing? That was cool.
It was like Paul McCartney interview. Like it was, the classic.
Wild stuff. All right, well, let's move on to the two films we do have. We'll take them in chronological order as we usually do, which means we'll take on Morbius first. But I think the discussion, this will be a good way to do it. We'll see how this goes. So being that you are the guest, Will, and I think that who had seen Morbius previously? I know Brian had. Who else had seen Morbius? Neither. Yeah. So okay. So
I watched this twice.
Well, first of all, I really have to come into this saying I'm sorry. I don't know what I was thinking when SniDBitS approached me. I was just like, you know what? I haven't seen these two movies. I need a reason to. So
Right.
I love that.
let's
Get it.
let's
Appreciate
do this.
that.
And I went in just like with full confidence, my whole chest into it. And man, oh man, Morbius was just
the chest caved in.
yeah. When I watched Morbius, the only thing I came away with, somebody had an idea, and then it just became, really, it became just a movie trope where you've got one person that does a thing and the other person that does the same thing, and then conflict. And then the worst part in sitting and watching it. No, the worst part in sitting and watching it, not just sitting and watching it, was the fact that it really felt like a very disjointed movie. It I don't know what wound up on the cutting room floor. It really felt like a series of incomplete ideas, and so everything that they had left was just boxcard together.
Pasted together,
Exactly.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So I'm so sorry, but at least I can now say I've seen it. Like there was one point, I didn't want to be too pedantic in this, but there was one point where I was actually taking notes. I'm like, this is just too good to let go, because like early on in the movie, after they start with this awesome bat scene, right? They give you that right up front.
Yeah.
Then you get this just emotional discussion in the lab, and he's talking about trying to cure all disease, and then the other actress, she comes with, but at what cost? I'm like, what risk are you looking at right now, lady?
I know, like, what do you
what at what cost?
Like he's dying regardless.
Like,
right?
That's where you just know somebody put dialogue in to put in dialogue. It's just like, come on.
That's
so
how I
it
feel
was
about
it was bad, y'all. It was just bad. There was I always try and like find the positive in something.
Me too. Yep.
It just never got me there with any of its ideas, with any of the concepts. Why? Because he got bat DNA, is he able to do everything he does? It just makes no sense. None. And not to mention too, the other big pet peeve, and then I'll let go and let everyone else talk about how terrible this piece of trash was. And by the way, if anybody watches this and they're like, no man, Morbius, that was my movie that year, I don't mean to take that from you. This is just my interpretation. Everything is everyone to everybody, and I recognize that. I respect it. But also, when they go into international waters to do these experiments, Jared Leto's character Morbius has to go through this complex process of all these electrodes and things connected to him, and then specifically applying this stuff as a spinal tap. And Matt Smith's character just like figured all that out when he whenever he swiped.
I know.
Right.
You know,
wherever he was, but I mean, he had the money to do so. He had the money to do so. I think that's the only...
He still needed Morbius, I think, to like...
Not to give us too much of a nod to later, but maybe hired a really good hacker, got some of that research material, and just said, okay, let's do this, boys. I don't know. It was
somehow got like the footage from the ship, and was able to like review that footage. Even that would have been like, hey, maybe. At least...
Well, actually, no, wait a minute. You know? That makes sense.
Didn't he pay for the ship?
Yes.
But didn't he pay for the ship,
he could have like somehow got the
footage. Also, how did the police not like tie him into any of that, considering he paid for that?
Nothing.
Always follow the money. They always tell you, always follow the money.
Because he's got that big old money, so they know about shell companies.
I can take care of it under this. He can deal with it.
No, for sure.
Or
For
you know,
sure.
he just used the address that was down the street from Nick Fury's mother. Sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, I look, guys, I can't apologize enough. I really cannot.
No,
There was just because because I'll admit I put it off till Friday to watch it, and I was
Right.
just like,
Yeah.
well, I knew my daughter was going to have a sleepover, so you know, it's just one of those things where you know you're going to be locked away, and
Look at you protecting your child.
you don't
That's
want to be
amazing.
seen.
That's-
So
That's
I
what I
put
see.
it on, and it was just a whole lot of this look on my face.
Mm-hmm.
Like what?
How
What is
did you
happening?
get from A to B to C? It just, I mean, obviously
For
somebody had an
those
idea.
listening, his face was very much Fry from Futurama. If you
Oh
wanted
man, it was.
to see what his face looked like.
But
Just let you know.
I'm well. Thank you for at least making one connection for me that makes sense, because yeah, his rich family, or with all his old
Right.
money, Matt Smith's character paid. This is how uninvested I am in the movie, because I can't name one character's name except for Michael Morbius.
Right. I know.
Oh, well, because his name was Lucius, but they still called him
They
Milo.
called him
the whole
Milo the
time.
whole
Milo the
time.
whole time. I
Even
know.
the mentor called him Milo.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like, what is this?
And wasn't he Milo
nickname? Like,
4 or something?
Yes,
Like
even
Yeah,
three?
he's like not even
worse.
the original Milo.
so to carry
Right.
on this morbid nickname all of these
Yeah.
years later, it was
I
just
thought
weird.
like eventually it would have been like they would have came to like a mutual like understanding, and he would have been like Lucius. Like everything else was stereotyped. I was like, so you didn't want to stereotype you going back to calling his actual name his name.
Yeah, like what
They were
was
like,
yeah, was that supposed
nah.
to like
We're gonna stick with Milo.
yeah when he finally calls him by his real name at the end, like was that supposed to be some
Oh, it's meaningful.
symbol?
Some
yeah,
message.
it's like,
Yeah,
that
what-
means
even when he's
nothing
why
talking
did-
about
yeah.
him
Means
to other
nothing.
people, he calls him Milo. So it's
right,
like,
exactly. Like
weird. It's weird.
it was
Yeah,
weird.
it means nothing.
Yeah.
So Janine, this was
Maybe
your
see,
first
maybe okay, I
viewing.
got it now. Maybe that's what the cops did. Maybe that's what he did. He put Milo on everything, so that's why he couldn't be
So
tied.
that's how they
to
couldn't find
anything.
it.
'Cause
Oh,
it's
We
not
can't
his
find this
actual
Milo.
name.
Who is this guy?
I nailed it.
Nailed it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Janine,
Or
what was your first impression of Morbius?
Well, as somebody who loved a lot of that in between Batman's era, so all of the superhero films that they were trying to make in between Burton's Batman and Nolan's Batman films, I was a fan of that era, the
Mhm.
Daredevils and the Fantastic Fours and the X-Men. And I
Mhm.
even remember my first day of 6th grade, we got paired up to interview each other. And I told this girl that Batman
Oh.
Forever was my favorite movie.
Oh
So
wow.
that's that is the era of superhero movie that I was a fan
Yeah.
of, because you could tell that they were trying to find the groove with these films. They were trying to
Mhm.
figure out like how comic booky do we go? How crazy do we get with
Right.
the costumes? How
Mhm.
quippy do we
Mhm.
make our characters? Like what stories do we
Yeah.
tell from the
How
comics? Like
badly did
so
we
you could
change the
tell.
car? Oh, sorry.
Yes. So you could tell there was like some thought on like what is the formula to making these films work. But as a comic book fan, as a fan watching these characters as cartoons, I was just excited that they were putting the effort into bringing these characters to life. So
Right.
I was into it. So the fact that this movie was trying to harken back to the filmmaking of that experimental era of superhero films,
Mhm.
just didn't work, because now you have no excuse. We kind of know
Right,
the formula.
exactly.
Focus on
Yep.
story, focus on character.
Mhm.
And this movie really just felt like, okay, we want to make a Sinister Six film, so we need to just introduce this character
Yeah.
as simply,
Right.
as boring as
Man.
possible. How
Don't
is
get me
this
started
man?
on that
Right.
damn
Yes. How
post
is
credit scene or whatever it was. Like
exactly so
Jesus.
confusing?
The most
Made no
pointless
sense.
And that
thing
didn't
ever. Like,
even make sense. That made no
Yes.
sense.
no.
None
That
of
made
it
no
did.
sense at all.
No, no.
Well, and
Made no sense.
That
how
spell
does the
brought
first
people
scene
into the
hide
MCU.
anything?
Michael
Right.
Keaton was already in the MCU. So how
Right.
did he
I
go
know.
into another?
Right.
And I think the director tried to explain it, made no
Like
sense.
that made no sense.
Just,
Right.
there's
Yes.
no reason for it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then Jared
No.
Leto, like you are
No.
incredibly attractive rock star. How are you so damn boring in this film? And then he's trying to be quippy and silly,
Yeah.
and it just that stuff didn't play. The romance like was not see romantic subplot. I was watching it and it just
Yeah.
did not
Mhm.
do like
Mhm.
I felt like they were trying to play off like the Daredevil rooftop scene a little bit, which that scene was actually a pretty romantic scene in that film.
Right.
But it was just like close your eyes and then he kisses her, and that's supposed to sell me on this
I know.
pairing. Yeah, so just a hot mess. Like I was
And like that one shot, that split second shot of her opening her eyes suddenly, and then
yeah, and that's it.
Yeah, it's like what?
That's for the next
What?
movie.
Never,
What?
it's never going to continue.
Where are we going with this?
No.
It's never going to continue.
No, and I don't care.
We ain't going
I don't
nowhere.
care about any of these characters.
And I
No,
know.
exactly. That was
I
yeah.
appreciated Matt Smith
Mhm.
having fun, and that's about it. Like
Right.
everyone was boring. The story was boring.
Mhm.
Like just no fun
Mhm.
at all. At least lean into the camp and
Yep.
have fun with it. But
Right.
there was none of that.
It could have been like
I
so
think
bad
the
it's
only-
good.
I
You
think
know,
the only
but-
person
Right?
that had fun on that film was Matt Smith. That's it.
Oh,
He's
yeah,
the
totally.
only one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you could see it in his performance. Yeah, you could definitely see it in his performance. Best performance though. And even that was kind of trash. And I love Matt Smith. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, I
because-
love me some Matt Smith.
Yes, because his villain turn didn't feel earned either. So a
No,
lot of things didn't
At
feel
all.
earned.
like what?
At all. Nothing. Nothing.
Well,
Yeah.
And oh my
Bro.
gosh, when
Oh,
the nurse gets killed,
Mhm.
all right, and then Michael Morbius is in prison, right?
Right.
Or he's in jail,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and he's like, they're blaming me for the murder. Do you forget all the mercenaries that you ate
I know.
just a little while ago?
Right, they'll play that off like these mercenaries were bad guys anyway.
I'm sure
We
they
don't
did some
care
bad
about
things.
Yeah, no, the
mercenaries.
cops
I'm
aren't
sure
gonna
they were
say
bad
that.
people. They really
yeah.
try to play it up to give
Yeah.
Morbius a pass on his kills.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
it's
I know.
crazy.
Mm,
It's like
mm-mm.
See, that
Yeah.
would have been a better plot if like this experiment happened to him. He turned into this being. He killed these people, and he feels some remorse about it.
Yeah.
There was no remorse. Like that would have been a nice character moment that they were just like, yeah, it's okay.
No,
He was
you
in there in
We'll have one of
dialogue,
those
but
later. I mean,
barely.
we didn't
like
care by that
he
time.
was, he did
So,
show remorse, but just like
The
here's remorse,
teeniest
moving
amount,
on, like
one line of dialogue remorse.
Just
And we don't even know what
barely.
happened to the girl in the coma. He put her in a
But I
coma,
mean,
and she
that could have
stayed
been like
in
a
a coma
through
the rest
line.
of the film.
right?
yeah, I thought that was
So-
gonna come back later because they put such an emphasis
Mhm.
on her.
Right.
Yes,
I
as
was
kind
like,
And the
of
bad
the,
suit.
Yeah.
Like they just
Yeah.
kept
Yeah.
dropping things.
it's kind of the thing
Brian-
driving him to find a
Yeah.
cure. Yeah.
Right. So this is your
Yeah.
second time seeing this film.
Yes.
Did your impressions change at all, or do you have the same impression or a worse impression than the first time?
I mean, generally, I walked away with it like overall the same. And I was like, man, it's just aggressively mediocre. It's just like very like okay,
That's beautifully
and, like,
stated. Aggressive.
it's just like
Yes.
calm down
yes.
on your mediocrity. Like
It's so good though. It's
Yeah.
so good though. But yeah,
Mhm.
that's great.
and yeah, like Janine put it too, like that's how I felt the first time I watched it too, was like I didn't care about any of these people,
Mhm.
like, but I actually cared more about the girl they put in a coma, who doesn't really have a name or anything, and we just see her for like 5 minutes. And
Yeah.
it's like, what about her? Like, because then they made it seem like, oh, he's like, that's really what's kind of like that was the motivating.
I wanna
thing
save
push him
people
over
like
the
her.
edge. Yeah,
Right.
you know what I mean. And then, it turned this thing. Yeah, it was like, I'm glad this is the second time I watched it because then I didn't really have to. I could almost kind of just like check out a little bit, and kind of just like I'll pay to. There's certain things where I was like, okay, some things, weren't as bad as I had thought in the original. Like, so the beauty of like doing this, I will say, Will, it was a great idea to put these two, as you mentioned before we came on, put these two together because I didn't see Madam Web until like the only reason I watched it was for this podcast.
Right.
So it's and we multiple times we've talked about this where we find these fascinating things when we juxtapose these films together. And there's some things that I'll mention in Madam Web that I like actually they didn't do in this one that's a positive thing where there was like camera movement and stuff like that wasn't done just for the sake of camera movement for a lot of things. This was like heavily CGI'd to death, but that was my like the thing I had a problem with initially. But yeah, I was just like I said, still pretty mediocre. I still can't get over like the whole basically like Dark Knight homage.
Yeah,
with
even
the
the
music,
score elements.
you must
Yes,
say that
sounded
was
very
like,
much when the
that's-
bats is watching the bats. I was
Yeah.
like, they are
It's
so
like bringing in
trying
Hans
to-
Zimmer's like little
They're, they're vampire bats, so it's so
yeah.
different, right?
Oh,
That's the difference.
yeah, it was
Yes.
so yep.
Yeah. No, yeah. La, this was your second time seeing the movie?
Technically
Uh-oh.
no, because I didn't watch
okay.
it again. I remember it enough.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
You just
I had
held
like
on
just-
to that first watch.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, the movies are what?
Smart. Very
No.
smart.
What were the movies? Exactly.
Oh my goodness.
No, yeah. I have a pretty decent mind when it comes to movies, and so I don't have to watch it again. I got it.
I
It's
just
fine.
remember.
A lot of
I just
hissing.
remember how bad it was, and well, here's the thing. Okay, I'm gonna talk about some good stuff first. Okay, let's talk about some good stuff first. It was in there. It was hidden, but it was in there. I will say that, like, to me, the best actor in this film is Matt Smith. Like, to me, he's the up to the role. Whereas everybody else, am I delayed again?
You
Yeah,
are.
this is not
Yeah,
good.
But not in
You
a
are.
bad
we're
way.
about to lose you.
I was just hoping it
Not
would
in a bad way.
flow through and we would be okay. So
It's a heavy delay. This is gonna suck. I don't like being delayed. Anyway,
I will. Let's see if it catches up,
I don't
and
even
I
want to talk
will.
anymore.
No. Let's. I don't want you to go because we want to hear what you have to say. But
Yes,
let me.
definitely.
I'll give my 2 cents and see if it corrects itself because you've been fine most of the show, so I'm not sure what's going on there. Yeah, I found myself just bored. I found myself just not caring through the whole film. I found, you know, the look of the vampire's kind of cool. He looks like the Morbius from the comics in a lot of ways, so that looks good.
Yeah.
I think the acting in this movie was at least happening as compared to the other movies we'll get into.
acting was
There
happening,
was
I
like
thought.
conviction to some of the things people were saying, and I felt emotion from people, which is important. It doesn't help that I watched this after Madam Web. I think if I had done it the other way around, I might have different feelings, but this movie benefited from the fact that I watched it second.
Right.
And it you know, it still didn't matter. It's so disjointed. It's basically what it boils down to is if I was 14, I would probably love this movie. And that's not an insult. It's literally, it's just kind of a eye candy popcorn flick. You don't need much more than just well, let's go to the movies and make out and watch Jared Leto be an idiot. Like that's what this movie is. I don't know. There was nothing profound about anything anybody said, and yet they still kept saying things as if what they were saying was profound or unique. Sometimes the dialogue was a little too much. Instead of just saying yes, they would add elements that didn't need to be added. So yeah, I don't know. It's exactly what I thought people said it was. And yeah,
it was the
I think it would be better without Leto, honestly.
It was the paint by numbers version of a superhero movie.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
Yeah.
I think if you had put Sam Rockwell in Lucius's place and then just anybody but Jared Leto playing Morbius, it would have been a really fun movie. Even with the problems,
even with the same dialogue, like
keep it the same. It would have been fine. Just give me better act. Not to knock on Matt Smith, but just give me better actors. That's just me.
Yeah.
La, let's see if everything's working. If she can even hear me. She does. All right.
Curse you, internet.
Right? It does this to us sometimes. This is, we're all in one studio. That might be a completely different story, but all right, La, let's hear what you got.
I can hear you, but I don't know if
you're good. Just roll with it.
We can hear you.
Can I be heard? Okay. All right. So to me, in this film, the best thing of this film is Matt Smith for me. And he's still bad, but he's good in the sense that I can tell that he was trying. He put energy into his performance. Everybody else just kind of felt like, I eat people. All right.
I eat people.
But I love you. Save yourself.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think Karen Gillan
It
actually
was-
talked him into doing it. So that's probably
no.
why he
She
decided to
did.
have fun with it. Yeah, his Doctor Who
Oh,
buddy was
funny.
like, you should try the
Yeah.
superhero thing. It's
Yeah.
fun. And so
Yeah.
I think that's what allowed him to just kind of go for it and have fun with it.
Yeah, she did. She kind of like pushed him towards it, and he was
Yeah.
like, okay. And I don't think this was the right one for him, but overall, I mean, I just echo what everyone else says because it was a dry film. It had no substance.
Yeah.
It didn't bring anything new to the table, and all the old things that it did bring, it made it worse. So it's like if you're gonna pull from Nolan or you're gonna pull from anybody, Spielberg or whoever, like either make it better or like
Or your
keep
own.
it the same,
Put your own twist on
as an
it. Yeah.
homage.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Something. But you didn't do any of that. Like nothing makes sense in this world, and the thing that doesn't make sense the most is Adrian Toomes showing up at the end because how did he get transported from his world to another world?
Well, you know, far from
Because
home or
That
whatever.
wasn't even the spell.
or,
That wasn't the
yeah,
spell.
home,
Spell.
Yeah.
Not at all.
That wasn't the spell. So
I
I'm
mean,
just confused on that.
we,
Yeah.
we can't really hold Sony to that because like this past
Right.
week we also got the Venom Last Dance.
Oh yeah, exactly. That
clip,
has
and-
nothing to do with
Right.
Trailer.
And
Right.
there's a scene where they captured the little bit of symbiote that was left in the bar in a whole other universe.
yeah.
Yeah.
Sony, you're drunk, go home.
Yeah.
Right?
Stick to
No,
animated
facts.
because the Spider-Verse
That-
films are
Right.
incredible.
No.
Exactly.
No,
Yeah.
but
Well,
but
and-
that's the thing though. I think the Spider-Verse films are amazing because they have Marvel is attached to it in some way. Like Marvel does give some influence to those. Like,
Yeah.
but Marvel doesn't do anything with these films. So it's like left to their own devices, they don't handle Marvel properties correctly. So that's kind of like the sucky part because Morbius could have been like a horror film if they actually did it
Yeah.
correctly.
Agreed.
If
And
they
it could have
cared
been,
about
like,
the character and not just setting
amazing.
up another thing, because that's what DC. That's how
Exactly.
DC
That's the
went
whole
wrong. They
thing. That was
rushed
the whole
into
reason.
setting up
Yes.
a universe
Right.
instead of
Yes.
caring about the characters and their stories.
Yeah.
Right?
But it's like you set it up just to drop it, and that's like unfortunate.
Yeah.
Like if you're gonna bring this character in, and you got somebody who's actually a decent actor, like Jared Leto isn't a
He's
bad
an Oscar
actor.
winner. Yeah.
Right.
He can be
And
good.
you know what I mean? Like he's not a bad actor. So to have him kind of give
Be
like
so
a whole
bland, like
you
Well,
know,
thing-
type of performance.
Another thing too is he like has
Hurts my
some skin in the
feelings a little
game. He was an executive producer on this film, so he like
yeah, he was.
Yeah,
wanted to do this.
Yeah.
You know, it's like
that's right. I forgot about that.
The
Nothing
guy
He
that
said
did
that, I
Life
read that he
is the
said
same
that this-
director. I never
Yeah.
saw Life. Was Life
Yeah,
good?
he said that this like the Martin Lawrence Eddie
no,
Murphy one?
no, the
sci-fi
Ryan
Life.
Reynolds,
That sci-fi
Yeah.
alien looked like.
Jake Gyllenhaal
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
So I
Okay, I
never
haven't
saw
seen
it.
it. I don't think.
Yeah.
It's sci-fi and it has Jake Gyllenhaal. I don't know what my problem is. I should have seen that movie already.
right.
Anyway,
Shout out to Jake Gyllenhaal.
right?
Sorry, I had
Isn't
to
it weird that the remake of
second that.
Roadhouse was better than Morbius? Like you'd think that
You
would
never
go
went
the other
in
way.
what world? Yeah.
Right.
How did that happen?
Thankfully, haven't seen it.
No, I will. Go
I
to-
liked it.
I will,
I
It was
I will say
fun.
it's
Yeah,
good.
it was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I liked it.
Well, maybe I will watch it now.
I haven't seen any Roadhouse. Maybe I'll watch the first
Well,
one.
I need
They're
I need
fun.
your take on
Yeah.
I need your take on
They're
Sam
good.
Elliott Law. So you
Woo,
Hmm.
baby.
Yeah.
I like Sam Elliott
okay,
now, so
so
I know
go.
like,
go watch it.
that's a good
No,
looking
Will,
man.
With
Okay.
Roadhouse, make sure you just go in and knowing it's an action flick, and you'll have a good time. Don't
Yeah.
take anything more than that into it, and it's fun.
No, take everything.
you take everything that you
Very
can think,
serious.
right? Yes, take it very seriously. It is one of Jake's most
Yes.
dramatic performances.
Mhm.
Each of his six packs gives its own
Sheds a
performance.
tear.
Yeah, they have their
Sheds a tear. That'd be great.
Yeah.
That'd
Oh.
be terrible.
Oh, real quick before we leave Morbius, which is fine. I just want to bring up like the love connection, because it wasn't a thing. I'm a firm believer that you don't have to have love in everything. Like you don't have
Right.
to have like a relationship,
Especially if you're gonna
in
force it.
everything.
Don't.
You know, especially if you're gonna
Yeah,
force
we're
it.
not gonna give time
exactly.
to it.
No,
They didn't even
yeah.
like have any kind of
Exactly. That's what
pre-flirting,
this-
like to even build for that.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were just supposed to
Just
know
boom.
that she had
Oh.
a crush.
So
Right?
because he's
Oh,
a man and she's
yeah.
a woman.
She's
That's
a woman,
it.
and
Like,
they're both attractive. Okay.
And
Right.
they worked
You know,
together for years, so
like,
obviously they
alright.
fall in love.
Yeah, they
So
obviously
obviously that's
feelings.
great.
Yeah.
But like that like really hurt my feelings because when two pretty people are on screen, like of course you want them to
gonna
get
enjoy
together.
that,
It's like,
yeah.
that's just how things are written. You
Yeah.
know, pretty people find pretty people. But to me, it just felt like they were like, it's a guy and a girl, right? Yeah, they should do
Just pick
something.
it up. Yeah.
They should do something. And it felt very like her becoming a vampire at the end was unearned. Like nothing in this
totally
felt like nothing in this, like you guys said, nothing felt earned. Right. Nothing felt
Things just happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
It felt like they were setting things up and then they were like, yeah, I won't worry about it. I won't worry about that plot.
It'll work
Like, don't
itself
worry
When
about
they
out.
got there, they're like, oh, I forgot.
You know what I mean?
We gotta,
Wait, that was supposed to make
Yeah,
sense.
let's
Oh
go
well, no
back.
one will notice. It's fine.
You
Right.
know, and then like you got cops kind of in the midway of this film, and it was just like y'all should have been there from jump. Like me, but you kind of were, but it was like y'all didn't do anything. It's like y'all only popped up when somebody died, and it was like y'all should be here. Like, y'all should just be
Investigating.
here.
Yeah.
Investigate. Like this could have been a really good like horror detective type
Yeah,
of
man.
film if they
Could've been.
would have did it right. It would have like
Give Tyrese
been
a
great. It could've been
chance,
very-
man.
I was
know.
actually going to say, I
Come
want
on,
to
man.
say,
He was
pretty
it was
good in
nice to
this
see
too.
Tyrese outside of the Fast and the Furious
Yeah.
and doing
Fast
something a
and
little bit more
He was
serious.
actually doing
Because
pretty
he
No,
can
for
good.
act.
sure.
Like, he is a good actor.
For
He
sure.
just
Right.
doesn't get a chance.
And
He just gets
you're
made fun of.
Capricorn like me. We got the same birthday.
Nice.
Me and
Yeah.
Tyrese.
It's really just shocking the pedigree this movie had, and
Mhm.
and it just could not get you there. That is the part that amazes me the most.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. And to
I
me,
agree.
a lot of
100%.
times
I
that
agree.
says something about like the director and the, like maybe,
Mhm.
or there's other outside influence too. I'm sure Sony had a lot of like
You could tell.
influence on this. Yeah,
You
like
can tell.
You know,
Yeah,
I think it was
hands are tied.
input.
I think it was in
Yeah.
the last 2 weeks, a clip came up where Ryan Reynolds was addressing his character of Deadpool that was in the Wolverine movie, right?
Wolverine, the Wolverine.
And
Wolverine Origins.
essentially what he said was that Fox basically blackmailed him and said, if you ever want to play Deadpool again, you've got to play this Deadpool. That's essentially
Oh.
what they did. And I feel like
Yeah, because he's been wanting to do Deadpool for a long time.
Right,
Before
way
this,
before
yeah.
that. Right.
both of these movies,
Yeah.
Sony may have
Mhm.
been in that
Mhm.
same game.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah,
It could be.
yeah.
But
'Cause-
Sony's also known for just
I could see
putting their
that.
hands into everything. I feel like the executives are on set going, no, don't do that. Do this
Yeah.
instead. It's
Yeah.
just how it feels sometimes.
Yeah.
And that studio's
Yeah, if you've seen any
more
interviews with
notorious
Amy
than others
Pascal
for it.
and Kevin Feige, and she's saying
Oh,
things,
yeah.
and he's just looking at her like, "What are you talking about?" Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Kind of
Yeah.
gets that,
Yeah.
that
Honestly,
distant
you
look
didn't
like
really see
Affleck
her
did.
smarts.
Yeah.
You didn't see her smarts as much as I would like to. Like
Mhm.
it felt like she was always playing second fiddle to him, and like she's just as much in the business as he is, and you didn't get to see how intelligent she is to his intelligence. You know what I mean? Like it just kind of felt
Yeah.
very much like he was like, plug these numbers in, and she was like, all right, I'm smart.
But she was
kid." It
definitely,
was
they
just
were
like
working
he
together for years.
didn't-
She was doing way more than that. Like, there's
Right.
no way she didn't have
Yeah,
to
for sure.
Right. That was the thing.
For sure. And that should have been shown if she was going to be you made her like a through line character, that she was going to be of importance, and you didn't show her importance.
Nope.
Like she became a plot device. That's all she became, was
I mean,
like,
she
you gotta
got
go save her.
essentially
The
fridged.
one person that trusts
know.
you.
Right.
And then,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
yeah. I was like, oh man, I totally forgot.
Yeah.
They're
But she's
fridged.
not fridged. They brought her back. So,
Right.
that
But you
doesn't
think she's
count,
fridged,
right?
Yeah.
and he's off to like, avenge her and blah blah blah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no.
Another thing too
Yeah.
that I like about
Sure,
both of these
yeah.
films, and this whole line of like Spider-Man villain origin stories that they're trying to do, we never
Mhm.
see them. What's the precipice that makes them turn? What's the thing that's like making them into a villain? We don't like just cut, like we're supposed to just buy that. I want to see
Yeah.
what's the thing that makes them be that bad guy, not just because Spider-Man exists.
Yeah, that antagonist.
Yeah, which is what they imply in that whole like meeting between Michael Keaton's character and
Yes.
Jared Leto. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
Spider-Man exists.
But then he
so let's
says we're
form a
gonna do
team."
some good. So
Yeah, like what are you talking about?
yeah, but
But
he
in
also says
Morbius's
let's do
world,
some
does
good.
Spider-Man
So what-
exist? We
That's
don't
the
know
thing.
if he does. Like,
Well, he did in the
They-
trailers
I think they
and then
said there-
didn't
That's
in the
right.
movie.
Yeah,
Spider-Man
that's
that
right.
exists.
That's right.
Yeah.
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 But they
Googled
set
before that.
Morbius up to be, but they set him up to be like a nice, decent guy, and nowhere
Mhm.
in
Right.
there do we see him like flip to be like a mean, like
That's
a,
what I'm saying.
guy that's like,
where's
yeah,
the like,
let's
where's the villain?
kill a
turn?
kid.
Yeah.
I don't know,
Yeah.
like
Let's go kill that
Exactly.
kid
Yeah.
in the red and
Like-
blue suit because
I don't know him. But
Because
also, why would
reasons.
you team up with a
Because
person you
reasons.
don't know? For
Right.
what reasons?
Because
Yeah.
I've been
Because it
I've been
sounds
reading
cool.
about you.
What are you
That's
taking
why.
from this?
Then also he has all his tech
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, where did
Sony and
how did he get his tech?
Don't,
Yeah,
don't,
and like I think
don't.
somebody
You
asked,
run into the
somebody
tubes in
asked
this
the director,
universe.
and he just said he's super resourceful. That's what they said. He's super resourceful. So he just
He just hit the
figured it
resourceful
out.
button and like it appears. Yeah, basically.
That was easy.
And
That was easy. Yeah.
If I'm being
Yeah,
being
there's, like,
honest
paper.
though, if I'm being
Yeah.
honest, he
Oh
is
my god.
he is very resourceful because we do see that in the
But did he
first
get his tech
Spider-Man, like No Way Home
from
or whatever. Like
Iron
we
from
do
Tony
say he
Stark?
got his tech
Yeah,
from like
Chitauri
the
stuff
from like
in the
Yes,
MCU.
Chitauri,
yeah, the
Yes,
Chitauri stuff. Right.
from the
So
Chitauri
it's,
remnants.
he is
But the
very
Chitauri didn't
resourceful.
attack Morbius as well.
But it would have
apparently.
been nice to see it. It just would have been nice to see it. It would
It
have
was just pointless. There was no
been nice to
reason.
kind of like
Yeah.
he's got a full-on suit. I mean, there's no reason to see me for sure, but
The-
he just got this
So
whole
funny.
suit. It's like
Speaking of tech,
Show
there's
him
a
at a-
moment when
junkyard or
Yeah.
something. I don't know.
Morbius has to go to the like counterfeiters lab, which I'm like, why is it
Yeah.
called a lab? And then
Yeah,
he
yeah.
ultimately takes apart a printer and like
Turns into
another
a
device,
centrifuge.
and all of a sudden he's like
Yeah.
made medical equipment. I'm like,
Yeah,
what
yeah.
the fuck is
He's made a
this? Like,
centrifuge.
I was so
Yeah.
blown
Yeah.
like I'm
Yeah.
like,
Don't even
what?
get
Yeah,
me
that's awesome.
started on the I am Venom line on that scene.
Oh yeah,
I
no,
know.
okay. So there's
Yeah.
a
It's
moment.
painful that I am
You
Venom.
wouldn't like me when
Yeah.
I'm hungry in this movie, and then
And that was
Exactly.
the,
wouldn't
he
like
was
me
trying to
when
be
I'm
very
hangry.
quippy.
Why are they
Yeah.
throwing Hulk
I
lines
know.
in these movies?
They love bringing
Anger.
back those
Yeah.
lines.
Yes,
Why?
which
It's
was
giving-
hangry even a
it's giving
thing in
Madam Web.
2003.
I know.
Oh
That's
no!
yeah.
My wife was watching for every 2003 like.
Yeah.
Were people saying
mention and then
hangry in
looking them up.
2003? I don't think so.
So
Yeah.
anyway,
Right,
why don't we
we'll
go ahead
talk
and
about
rate
that.
Morbius? I have a really strong feeling of what this is going to get rated like, but I'm very interested. And then we will move on to Madam Web. Let's start with Will. What do you rate? As you probably remember, it's been a while, but we do the 1 to 10 rating. Your scale is your scale, whatever you think a 1 and a 10 are. Go ahead.
Mhm.
I'm gonna be generous, and I'm gonna
Don't do
say
that.
2. I'll give it a
Mama.
2. Because
2 out of
1
10.
is just too cold-hearted.
It's too hard. Yeah, that's too.
You know what I
cold,
mean? Because
Uh-huh.
seriously, like, you know, at least
'Cause
for
they did it,
Adria
you know?
Arjona, I gotta at least give it something
Yeah.
because
Right.
she was nice to look at, and I'm not meaning to minimize her in any way. She was great in Andor. She was wonderful in Good Omens, but
No, but
you know,
yeah.
and at least it's a movie that kept making me say what the F. So
Right.
I'll give it a
Yeah.
2.
There you go.
2 out of 10. I like it. Let's go straight across. La, what do you think?
I'll give it a 4. I'll give it a 4.
A 4?
And that's simply because of Matt Smith. Like that's
Oh,
simply because of him.
that's a lot of points for one actor. I like that.
Yeah.
Well, he's
How
the
about
only
you,
one that
Janine?
brought
It's a 4.
something.
Yeah.
Right, that's a good point.
No,
about
that's
you,
what I
Janine?
feel. Like he's the only one that brought something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Had fun with the role.
Yeah.
JeannineDaBean, what do you think?
I mean, every movie gets a point just because it's hard to make a movie, so
Mhm.
it gets
Yeah.
credit for that at
Mhm.
least. So I'm gonna go 3.5 because yeah, Matt
respect that.
Smith, he's having fun. He's at least
Mhm.
doing something. Like you said, Snitty, just how he looked like Morbius from the comics. So I at least appreciated that.
Right. Yeah.
And yeah, it was a movie that got made. So
It was a
3.5.
movie. It
Yeah.
was.
a movie. It was filmed. How about you, Brian?
Yeah. I mean, kind of echoing what everyone else has said. Like, yeah, it's about a 4. You know, and that's also me being generous too, because it's like,
Generous.
like if you would have talked to me the first time I watched it, it would have been like exactly what Will's was. Like it was a 2. Like it was, yeah.
Mhm.
And this time around, I was like, okay, you get a couple more points because I was enjoying Matt Smith a little more. The first time I watched it, I was like literally cringing. Like the whole dance thing he was doing, I was like, no, please stop. But I had a problem with it.
Yeah.
This time around, I was like, okay, I was having a little more fun with him. But yeah, so it gets a 4.
All right, 4 out of 10. So haven't broken a 5 yet. That's rare. This may be one of the lowest ratings
It
we've
ain't gonna
ever
do that.
given on the show. Myself,
I agree.
I gave it a 3 on Letterboxd, and I'm going to stick with it. I don't think it earns any more than that. And yes, it gets a 1 for
What
being
did
a
I
movie
give it
that
on
was made.
Yeah.
So
That's what I
that's hard. You know, we do respect the making. It doesn't it doesn't look bad. The look of the film, I think,
Right.
isn't terrible. The look of
No.
Morbius. So a 3. It's it's not watchable. I will never watch it again. You couldn't.
Yeah.
Well, you can pay me, but it's going to be a lot of money. It's gonna make a 3.3 average. Wow, that's
someone did that math.
pretty bad. Yeah. Gave us that average. So that's pretty bad. All right, let's move on to Madam Web, which is of course another Sony property, same screenwriters, but a different director this time, and another Spider-Man adjacent film, if you will.
Spider person.
Spider
Yeah,
person.
they literally say that. Yeah.
I don't know if I'm gonna follow this, but La told me that I was gonna have to go first because of my my rant on our Discord. But I'm not sure I want to go too deep first because I will. It's like 2 pages, so like I'll basically take all the points, and you guys will be like, "Sure, we reviewed it. Let's move on." So I'll give one that I think is big. So I absolutely hated this film. There's nothing redeeming about it. I want there to be, because it is an all-female cast, female screenwriter, female director. Like I really wanted this movie to do well, because we need movies like this to do well. But something somewhere in the cogs got totally screwed up, and every single scene, every bit of dialogue is atrocious. Like it's just terrible from beginning to end. So there's a moment,
and there's 50 different versions of this
movie. There's a moment where she, again, spoilers for our show, but there's a moment where her friend, and it's not her best friend, but it's like her other good friend, is going to get in the ambulance and go, and he gets hit by a dump truck, which is fine. That's not the part of the thing that bothers me. That happens. She's got visions, which are, again, nothing that bothers me. But when they go, you're going to see right here, when they go to the shot above the scene, this dump truck that's doing 60 miles an hour that hits the ambulance is headed for a freaking river. Like, why is this dump truck headed for a river? Like,
because he wanted to die from being in the film. The driver of that truck couldn't take it anymore.
I guess, man, but like,
out of this movie.
I don't know how you can put that shot in the movie. Like, just don't put it in, and you're fine.
Right?
Like,
You don't need it
without it.
Shoot it from the other side, from this side. If you want that
or, like,
wide, don't show the water. Like, like,
or crop it. Like, move
or
get
his point of view. Get his point of view of the crash or something. I don't know.
Like,
not that shot. And that shot has made me like,
I didn't even rate
hyper focus on this movie. Like, that's so. I don't know. It's very amateur, and that's not. I'm not trying to be mean, but it feels like
it was like we got this drone shot, or it was a
movies.
helicopter. They're like, we paid for it. We gotta we gotta use it. You know?
So it's a person that doesn't know how to make
movies,
making movies with a big budget. So like you get all the amateur stuff, but with a big budget, and it's like that's how I.
That's where yeah. There's a lot of stuff in there, in this that's like that. I think.
Let's go, Brian. Go ahead with what you think of Madam Web.
Man, I watched this one first too, because I already knew about Morbius. I was like, I'll wait on that one, but
put it off a little longer.
because I want to actually watch this one, and man, it was so many things just not connecting. You're like, why would they do this kind of thing, and why would this happen? There's some funny things in it too, just funny, not like they tried to be funny, just funny, oh, that's a funny thing. So the first thing that was really throwing me off was camera work. And there's a lot. This is one of those things where it's okay, these scenes are boring as hell, but I'm gonna try to inject some energy into it by just making the camera move for no reason. And my thing is so oh my god, don't get me started on this stupid crash zooms we had, all these punches and they look like they were digital too. They didn't look like they were actually doing it in camera. It's a post thing. And we saw it zoom in and zoom out. And it's why? Why is this there's no reason for it? And then when they never used it again, it was just
trying to be dynamic, and it's not.
It's not The Office. It's not a documentary. We're not trying to do. It's it was just
I think she directed an episode of Succession, so she did similar things in that episode that she directed.
And the thing is too, they were just doing it just to do it. So those kind of things, and I'm, you guys, I worship at the altar of Roger Deakins, and he always talks about, I'm not going to move the camera, unless I absolutely have to. Like, look at any of his films, and like he's only moving the camera if it serves the story, you know, and if it's like necessary.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he's locking that camera off,
Mhm.
and that's what like they did the opposite.
Yeah.
It's like, we need to like do something here because this is making me fall asleep, and so we need to move the
This
camera.
scene
around.
is really boring.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so let's move the camera. So there's a lot of that through this that was just like taking me out of the movie. And yeah,
Trying
the
to wake
dialogue.
everybody up every now and again. Wake
Yeah,
up.
yeah. It's like, well, we're moving. Okay. Yeah, and the whole like ADR where it
The
felt like
ADR?
all of the villains like lines were
I want to
ADR.
know if that's
The
his
whole-
real
the
voice.
whole
So
movie.
weird.
I feel like that's not his
It
real
felt-
voice.
No,
Yeah,
I feel
no.
like
That
they changed the
that's
whole
not his real
script,
voice.
and so they had to
Yeah.
just had to ADR in new dialogue because it was
Man,
too
it was
late.
That's
and
what
the
Dakota
process
said.
changed the whole story.
Dakota said what
and
she
so they
got
had
wasn't
to-
what she
yeah.
saw at the end
Yeah.
result.
Because
That's what
she didn't know
said
what
that.
version she was
said
going to
she got
see because there
duped.
were like
That's
Yep.
so
several
crazy.
versions of this movie.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wild.
Yeah,
'Cause
so I
it,
think
like,
they just
it was
rewrote this
obvious.
whole film, and so had to.
Well,
Yeah.
the very first one you see when
Yes,
he's
it was
facing
weird.
the lady that he ends up poisoning,
Uh-huh.
like from the back, every gesture he's making,
Yeah.
and then the very last few
Right,
words
it doesn't
don't line
match.
up at all.
No.
Like, I was my
Yes,
wife
or
and I
we're
were just
seeing
like,
him
what the
not
hell?
his face
The thing-
talking.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And like because
He was
his
very in the
'cause all
shadows
of-
when he talked.
well, all of his dialogue was too clean. You know what
Yeah.
I mean, like it was like you know what I
Mhm.
mean, like just in a studio.
Yeah.
Sound, yes,
Yeah,
Scrub
it has
City.
life
Mhm.
out in the world. It reflects
Yeah,
off
exactly.
of things. That's how you instantly can
Yeah.
tag in on
Yes.
ADR.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was the hardest thing about this movie was just like every time he was speaking, it was just so removed from
distracting.
the element.
Yeah.
I got to see
Yeah.
something else with Tahar
Yeah.
Rahim in just so I can know.
Right, exactly.
What
I
I
know.
said.
what-
I
what
want to
he
know how
actually
this is
sounds
him,
like.
Right?
Yeah.
bad, or what
Dude,
is this?
Yeah,
Yes, I felt the same.
That
way.
is not his real voice. No.
yeah. It sounded like
Um,
somebody doing an imitation of his voice.
Of
Yeah.
him, right.
Weird.
Brian, do you have
Right.
anything else before we move
No,
on?
no,
I
no,
wanna-
no.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Janine, what did you think of Madam Web?
This was my
Uh,
second time watching
man,
it
oh,
because
wow.
man.
a friend actually told me, was like, it's not as bad as people say it is. But this was a friend who's not incredibly
Yeah.
movie savvy. So
Gotcha.
I took a
That's
chance and
funny.
I watched it like when it first dropped on Netflix. So this was the second watch. I should have been like loud and be like, I watched it already. I remember it now.
Yeah.
But I decided to watch it again. Just to be
PTSD
fresh.
from it.
Yeah,
Just read the Wikipedia.
definitely
next
still
time.
feeling like Morbius in the sense that right, in the sense that it's like trying to try things out and play around with things and feels kind of like from that early era, but has no excuses to feel like a movie from that era. Just the kind of lazy drops of like, it's 2003, so we're gonna
God.
go to Blockbuster and rent I Know What You Did Last Summer
All the
and
product
listen to
placement in this
Toxic on
movie?
the way and drink a
Like,
Mountain Dew while watching
yeah.
American Idol.
God.
Like,
No, but they called it Idol, which I don't think anybody
Called
called
it
it
Idol.
Idol until
No,
years
'cause it was
later.
like
if at
early
all.
days of
Like,
Idol.
yeah.
Like, yeah.
We called it American Idol when it came out. 'Cause It was new, it was
Yes.
fresh. Like,
and
Mhm.
exactly, because I think this was in 2003. It was only on like its second season.
Exactly.
But it was like how Morbius, I didn't care about any of the characters. Here, I didn't like any of the characters. Like they were all incredibly unlikable.
Damn.
I respect that.
Yeah.
Yep.
True.
Yep.
So they were all just mean and nasty or just like
Yep.
not interesting.
Stereotypical.
Or
I
liars.
will
They
say
didn't like
one scene I
themselves.
actually did enjoy. Yes,
They didn't like each
yes.
other. Like,
One
yeah.
scene that I did see some promise in
Right.
was the scene where she's teaching them CPR. Like it was a
Right.
bonding moment. She's
Yeah.
teaching something that they can use.
Mhm.
Mhm.
That you know they're
and they're
going to
working
use
together.
before the
She's
end of the
using something
movie.
that she
Right,
knows from
exactly.
her world. That yeah. So she's showing them so that they can use that to fight the villain, but then ultimately comes around and it uses it to save her. So that was a scene that like had some potential into like how they could grow as a team,
Mhm.
and they're learning together, growing together, that whole kind of thing. But that was the only scene like that
Yeah.
really felt like they bonded. So then again, when we get to the end, this unearned team dynamic we have that you just don't feel like makes any
Right.
sense or
This
you even
found
care
family
about.
that we don't care about.
Suck.
Yeah.
And didn't earn it. Yeah. Again, the villain's terrible. The weird dubbing, like it
Mhm.
just made no sense. I really feel like they just rewrote the whole story and just had to add new lines for him to change the story
Yeah.
to what they thought made sense. Dakota Johnson just being so awkward, like
Man.
and just
She did
aloof, and
not
I
want to
guess
be
that's
there.
her thing. Like I
Yeah.
just, it's just it.
At all.
Yes, and you can tell.
Yeah.
You
At all,
can
you can
so
tell at
tell.
all.
So why do you want to
Mhm.
follow her? Why do you want to watch her? Yeah. Just
Oh,
I will
man.
say I think maybe I liked this a little bit more than Morbius just because
Mhm.
it was a female cast. I
Yeah.
saw potential there that just wasn't met,
Mhm.
but just a hot
Yep.
mess, a hot,
Yeah.
Mhm.
hot, trashy mess of a movie.
Yeah.
A dumpster fire, it sounds like you're expressing. Possibly.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Law, what did you think of Madam Web?
Okay, so let me go. I'm gonna say some positive stuff.
Note these because there's not going to be many of them.
I like the music in it. When we did see them in costume, that was cool.
Mhm.
Even though that was a dupe.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
That was a
80
that was a
seconds
hell
of
of a
vision.
Yeah.
dupe. You know, I was like, okay. The girls had moments where maybe a joke would land or something like that. Like it was very few and far in between, but like little moments
Yeah.
happened where I was like, okay, that's okay. You know, it was very few far in between.
Like,
I will okay, I'm done with the good stuff.
mhm.
I was fast.
I was really
Yeah.
it's done. I was really hurt that her visions repeated multiple times until the black man died. And even after.
Damn.
Oh,
Yeah.
Think about it. Anytime she's had like a
Yeah.
vision, she's been like, oh, and it's come back and
Yeah. She's
she's
do it multiple
but
times.
you killed Mike Epps,
Yeah.
and that it never came back.
Right.
She never got a second
Yeah.
chance.
She's never
for
gonna
that.
like. Yeah.
That's
It's just the
true.
one time and she walks away.
I was like, oh, okay, y'all.
And then like when it
that's
happened,
okay.
Yeah.
it didn't feel like it impacted her as much as like she was like making it out to her.
No,
She had
it
no
was
expression
it was
on her
Yeah.
okay.
She was like,
None.
Yeah.
Okay. Dakota babes. I'm not sure if this is the profession you want to be in, okay? Because I don't think I've ever seen a role of hers that I was like, she crushed it. Because even
She
in
killed
the
it,
50
yeah.
Shades films,
yeah,
you
no,
know, you
50
feel
Shades.
me? Never. And even in the 50 Shades, her character is quite like her Madam Web character, very kind of like quiet and reserved and like withdrawn and things like that. And like these people around her have to like bring these sides out of her. She can't do it
Right.
herself. So like she keeps playing this type of character and it's not working, babe. We might want to go back to the drawing board on that one. This film was like lackluster of emotion, even though I know that it was supposed to have it. Right? Like everything was stereotypical. How you're writing these characters are stereotypical, and it really hurts my feelings because it's all women, right? I feel like women are I'm gonna pull out some Shrek. Women are like onions. We got layers. You feel me? And Dakota's character had no layers, right? Her only thing was she had some sort of anger. Okay, I'm sorry. I can't get my words right because it irritates me. Hold up.
No, yeah, I'm with you. I told you I was going to get frustrated because that
it
anger thing drove me nuts.
Okay, because it irritates me because one, how did she get her mother's belongings? How did they know that this was her child? How did she even have the same
like,
last name as
the
her?
hatred for her mom the whole time
as her mom.
when she didn't even know her mom.
The hatred for her mom made no sense.
No, yeah.
Also, 30 years with a case and you never went through all of it? I don't believe it.
You never come on, come on. So I'm like, okay, I get
You're
it.
hating her and you haven't even looked at any of this stuff.
Right. You haven't even come on. And like I don't get it because I'm not an orphan and I've never been like, you know, my mom is still alive, thank God, and things like that. But I wouldn't be mad at my mom if I don't know the entire story of what, like, everybody don't have the ability to go back and peek the past to be like, oh, you did love me. And that scene was horrible because there was no emotion.
So much.
In that entire scene, her face,
did
if
love
you
me.
go back and watch that scene,
Oh my
her
God.
face never changes between
Right.
why did you hate me to you love me. Her face never
To,
changed.
this is why I did
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is, you know what I mean? Her face never changed. And then to like, I feel like one of the biggest issues of this film, it's a whole bunch of them, but I feel like the biggest issue is you try to stuff too much into one film.
Yeah.
You try to stuff too many people and too many references into one film. Because if I'm being honest, I don't care that Peter Parker was born in this film.
Right. That
I
was
do
so weird.
not care.
Gotta make sure we get that in there. That to me felt like a Sony thing. Like
Yeah.
Sony's the one coming in there. Hey,
Yeah.
let's do it.
Well,
You
yeah.
They have
gotta
to be
remind
more
them,
than
They were gonna
Spider-Man
change
somehow.
the. They
Peter
were gonna
Parker or
change the
Spider-Man
year.
in all these movies.
Yeah.
And if I'm being
They were gonna change
honest,
the year so that Peter was born was Andrew
Mm-mm.
Garfield.
okay.
That's what they
curious
wanted
about
to
the
do. They wanted to
timeline.
make that
Anyway.
Andrew Garfield.
But this
Then
one
they
works for
decided to
Holland's
change it.
Spider-Man
Yeah.
because he would have been about 8
That's
and
So
Yeah,
now
yeah,
now it
yeah.
does work for
Yeah.
Holland.
6,
Right.
7, 8.
But
I mean,
but
no,
Marvel
no,
was
for
probably
sure.
like, we don't want to play with you.
No, because
we don't
like
want that.
Right.
Yeah,
because like
thanks.
you didn't have to do that, right? Because
Yeah.
I get it.
No.
She's Madam Web. She connects all of
Right.
them. Like in the comics and in the TV, like in the cartoon, she was the one that was like, "Hey Pete, some danger coming. You might want to go check care of it." Like she helped him kind of like move along to become the Spider-Man that we all love. Like I understand her role, and I understand that this is like 30 years before she becomes like that person and all that type
Yeah.
of stuff.
Yeah.
But my thing
Old
is
lady
like,
time,
you feel me? Like, but you're throwing too much into this film, right? She didn't have to connect 3 people at once. Like she did, it could have been one person that she was trying to protect because
Right.
I'm sorry, somebody
No,
else.
no,
talk.
there's
I can't.
20 different let's give Will a thought because I think he agrees with a lot, but
I
see what Will says.
I am never getting invited back on this show.
Oh, no.
I
this is
know
great
for a
discussion.
This
fact.
is great.
I will never
Yeah,
be
you are,
back.
man. This is great
is very-
conversation.
Some
This
great
is good.
discussion.
It's very
Yeah.
cathartic.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's cheaper than therapy. Like I
It
said.
is.
Well, Law has
It
been
is,
saying
yeah.
let's do bad
Get it
movie episodes, and here we are. We're doing
Ta-da.
bad movie episodes.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, this is why it's so good.
Seeing Madam Web benefited by seeing Morbius first for me because I'm like, okay, this is gonna be bad. So
Right.
I'm already knowing I'm gonna get terrible dialogue. I'm gonna get
Mhm.
story that doesn't make any sense. Little did I know I was also going to get an entire cast that was in a coma during the entire movie. Could somebody have woken Sydney Sweeney up, maybe?
Yeah.
Right?
Oh my god.
No, she was knocked
oh,
out,
and-
man.
and-
She was
and
knocked out the entire film.
What's her name? Celeste O'Connor. You
Mhm.
know she had to do this movie because they're like, if you want to be in the next Ghostbusters movie and make that Ghostbusters
No
money,
facts.
Right.
You gotta do this.
Mm.
you got to
gotta
be
do
in
this.
this one.
You gotta do this.
Oh.
Yeah.
I didn't even know Adam Scott was in the movie. It was a nice surprise to see him. It was
Yeah.
a nice
And I love
surprise
him.
for a moment to
Mhm.
see Mike Epps.
Yeah.
That was nice.
Right.
Yeah.
I know.
But
Yeah, Adam acted in this movie. I'm
But-
sorry.
yeah.
yeah, but the thing I did not
Wow.
like the implausibility and the unearned moments throughout this film drove me nuts. The
Yes.
entire
Yeah.
thing with her powers as the climax, it's like at least have given us a hint of it before.
Right.
And what is this
I was like,
metaphysical
no
bull
montage or
crap?
anything. Like,
Yeah,
Right.
nothing. Not even a training
Yeah.
montage to
Yeah.
Right,
bad 80s
exactly.
power bands. Come on. It didn't
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
anything.
Just a guy in
but
Peru
somehow-
telling you, "Hey,
oh my god, I know.
Also,
You're
how
coming
is it that this woman is wanted?
Also, she make Peru money.
Dude, she
Like, how
not
she
only
get to-
that, Lala, she was wanted for kidnapping, somehow gets out
Yeah.
of the country
Out of the
and
country.
back
Yeah, that's
in.
right.
Not to mention,
Driving the same
didn't think about that.
stolen
Well, I'm-
taxi.
Oh my god, I know.
dude, yes,
She drove that cab the
yeah,
entire
no
time.
license plate on
He
it.
pulled those plates
No
off. though,
license
so
plate
they-
on it.
yeah,
It's
that's
far more
grand
suspicious.
grand theft
Yes.
on multiple
Right.
levels,
Yeah.
and still walking about. It just
in the
my
same
goodness.
clothes, like not
Right.
even disguised. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and
And
she
then not
also
even
was
that,
really
Will.
good at going
Remember,
to Peru.
she went
And she
back.
went right to the
She
tree
went
her
back
mom
to
was
the
at.
crime scene.
No guide.
yeah, that too.
No, she went
Right,
right back
yeah,
to
yeah.
the crime scene. She went right back.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
been a few
ma'am.
hours. Everybody will be
Ma'am,
gone.
pick a
Nobody
bus.
will
right?
care.
It's been a few hours.
So,
Okay, all right.
I think the most
New York,
telling
everyone's
moment
busy.
of this movie for me, because I was able to just like focus on the camp and go with that. But the most telling moment was that
Almost have to.
this movie too was part of the sleepover agenda, not for them, for me. And
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
there was a point where the girls all wanted to do, I think they were going off and we're talking about 9 and 10-year-olds, by the way, just to be clear. And they were going off and I think they were either daring each other to do stupid things or they had an app that like gave them up with random challenges. So at one point, while I'm trying to watch it, they're continuously coming in and doing these things, which that's fine. I'm not going to take away their childhood at all. Let them have fun. But like that was a moment where I had to keep hitting pause, and then I had to acknowledge the fact there's still an hour and a half to this movie.
You're like,
Oh
whoa.
Christ! And seriously, like everything
Yeah.
about her powers was extremely annoying. It was
Mhm.
very disjointing. It was just disorienting is the word I'm looking
Yeah,
for.
yeah. for
I
sure.
know I don't know if
Mhm.
that was intentional to
Yes.
try and give us the same feeling she has with trying to experience these powers,
Right.
but
I would think so. Yeah.
I mean, I really wanted to
Yeah.
go in thinking there's no way it's as bad as everybody
Right.
said, but
Mhm.
it just was. Not to mention, if she's got these metaphysical powers and these abilities, did she really have to go to Peru to talk to this dude? Come
Right.
on. I
And she
just
Right?
because
He
it's the
needed to
same
like
situation when she
Yeah,
talked
talk
to
to
the
her in a
because
vision.
she
She had a
villain.
whole
needed the
conversation with her dead
understanding.
mother in a
Right.
vision.
it could have been a
She
dream
needed
in
it,
another
you know?
Totally.
hotel.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, it's like I
My
think I
thing
She
is
saw
she
a
talked to
could
TikTok.
Ezekiel
she
in
took
a
too
vision. She
long
talked to her mom in a vision.
The
Right.
in the
problem is
vision. Yeah.
the problem is that
Yeah.
after you see these movies, you start Googling and cookies travel.
Yeah.
And I know I was scrolling TikTok today, and this one guy just summed it up best. He said, the thing that's most unbelievable about Madam Web is this movie just hits pause on this movie and then goes away to Peru and then comes back. It's like all
Yeah.
the action can
Okay.
just stop. So much so they got to have a
Totally.
terrible piece of dialogue where it's like, how can this woman hide these children for a week? It's like,
Yeah.
because somebody wanted to get paid for a vacation to Peru. That's why.
Right.
That's all I can think of.
That was my thing too. I was like, wait a
Facts.
minute. She's just gonna leave them all she's been worried about these kids this whole time, and then she's gonna go to Peru.
And
Just, you know.
how gullible is Ben Parker just
Oh
to
my God.
automatically believe all this stuff? I don't care if it was the dude that was at
Yes.
the best man
Right.
at my wedding. If he suddenly rolled up and is just like, I need you to take these 3 girls, I'm calling the cops.
Who I'm literally
Yeah.
wanting for kidnapping.
Exactly. I am
Yeah.
calling the police now.
Like I might be your friend if you get acquitted. Like we can talk about that, but I'm not sure I want to be a part of this.
But I think I should have known because I always judge everything by how people are able to do in other things as well. For example, look, I know Sydney Sweeney is like the it girl. She really honestly, the things I've seen her in, she comes across very comatose. I just that's fine. People want to look at her, I guess. She
Right.
did okay on SNL. When Johnson, pardon me, did SNL, it was the most atrocious
Right. Don't
episode of SNL ever.
expect that, Dakota.
Yeah.
Cringe.
And
It
here
was-
is the contrast I'll say to that. Now, I know Sterling K. Brown is an excellent actor. His SNL episode just slayed, okay? If you have not seen it, go see those skits.
Yeah.
The doctor skit alone, amazing. And again,
That's the
it's
thing
just
too. Like if you watch Honk for Jesus, he is incredible on that. Like his
Mhm.
comedic chops is like
Mhm.
just like you said. Yeah, I think people
yeah,
don't give enough credit
it
for that.
shows versatility and good acting, and like
Yes.
Yeah.
none of that was there.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
actually, I guess I shouldn't say
Even
Sydney
his
Sweeney
like
gets any credit
even
because
his guest
she wasn't
star
even in
stuff.
her
Even his
skits.
guest star stuff is,
Yeah.
is hilarious. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Lala. Go ahead. I apologize.
Crying. No, I just giggled. You're fine.
Okay.
So there was a moment. There's an element of the film that I think we haven't talked about, and it's subtle, but I think it's important because again, the target audience for this film is going to be teenage boys for the most part. 14 to 25 is still the comic book like tier 1 group that they're going for. And there's an element of like when the girls are running around, they're not like running, they're more like bounce running, what my wife called boob jogging, which I thought was a really good way to put it. Very Baywatch, right? And I know you mentioned the CPR scene, but after she mentioned the boob jogging moment, and like they're all wearing midriff stuff and their tight clothes, etc.
Yeah.
When they got to the CPR scene, I was like, there's a lot of bouncing going on in the scene. And there was even a moment where they cut behind Celeste for a moment when she was doing it. You couldn't see the front half of her at all. She was just bouncing up and down. And I'm like, is this intentionally suggestive, or have I just been around way too long and I have a dirty mind? Like, because it felt like they kept trying to add these little elements of that into the film to try to entice the teenage boys, if you will,
or
appeal to a certain demographic.
Right. That's what it felt like to me, and it feels, I don't know, it felt icky. It felt weird. Like, sure, all these girls are 20 and over, but still they're playing teenagers. What are you doing? Why do it? It's not as bad as other films, but I think it was still there. The line that she said to her mother, "I hope the spiders were worth it, Mom," was one of the worst lines in the whole film, and reminded me of Julia Stiles in Save the Last Dance when she said, "I was dancing while she was dying." And I absolutely can't stand that kind of really too specific dialogue, like talking about it like you're like it's like you need to spell it out. That like, come on, like
This whole film was an exposition dump. So.
If Dakota Johnson had said like, "Why did you go to the jungle when you were 8 months pregnant, Mom?" or something like that, that could have been more intriguing. Like, now we're like asking questions. We're like, or why did you leave me? Or why was it? I don't know. There's 1,000 other lines I could have used besides that line. So, La, please go ahead.
I'm gonna raise my hand now since I'm like delayed and stuff. So, I think something that I forgot to mention was Sydney Sweeney's character talked about how she knew Taekwondo and they did nothing.
Right. That's right.
Nothing.
Nothing.
Cool.
I was like, cool. This is how they're gonna bond. They're gonna like, go back and forth, and then like she's gonna teach somebody some moves, and then they're gonna come together, and this is how they fight the bad guy because this is how they learn. And no, they didn't.
Not even when she's Spider-Woman, they don't reflect any of it.
Right. Yeah.
Nope.
There was one moment for me that stood out that gave me like really violent flashbacks to another very terrible film. So there's a song in this movie that's playing because it's 2003, I guess. It's that Scandalous song. That song is also
from
in
Catwoman.
Yeah. I was like, oh, it all makes sense. Why is it so bad?
Yeah.
There was a moment where I expected Madam Web to turn to Ben, which was weird because Ben wasn't in the end of the movie really. But I was expecting her to be like, with great responsibility, or with great power comes great responsibility, because she was taught that line in reverse for some stupid reason.
Yeah,
which made no sense. Once she takes
funny.
responsibility, which is funny, when she takes responsibility, she's been most irresponsible. She lit fire to a fucking fireworks factory. She fucking took 3 girls onto a fucking roof on a fireworks factory that was on fire in order to fight a superhero type character who, for whatever reason, when he gets onto scaffolding, has like he's walking through sand or something. Like he couldn't just kill her. Like,
also, why doesn't he have spider sense? Why is he not like jumping? Like,
it's not the same spider. It's not the same spider.
But he has all the exact same other abilities.
It's not the same spider.
He had no web.
She has like
he didn't have no webbing,
because I think Pete's spider is a radioactive spider. I think that's the difference. Whereas his spider was like just like
inactive.
Come from that tribe. Right. It's like radio inactive. Exactly. But I think that's the reason why, because I was thinking that the entire movie. I was like, okay, why doesn't he sense them, or why doesn't he I'm not getting why he doesn't, but I think it's because it's a different type of spider.
The elements from the same spider though are in her, and she can see. So essentially Madam's web power is a very heightened spider sense.
Right.
That's what it is. And it's like can see through time almost in space, where Spider-Man has this very like minute, it's only like an instant before so he can react. That's why I was like, essentially, it's the same spider.
But again, in the chat brings up a good point. It's just that we can't forget he's cursed because he took
Right, that's
the
true.
spider.
Yes.
He stole the spider.
He
Oh
doesn't.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
He doesn't
true.
poison
My
him
fault.
too. So
Yeah,
it's like, yeah, he's
Yeah, never
cursed.
mind.
yeah, he is cursed.
He just killed a bunch of people too, but no, he's
Yeah.
cursed by that.
Yeah. And I think because
Right.
because
That's
like
good
the
point,
actual
yeah.
Las Arañas like bestowed upon her that spider, it might
Right.
be a difference.
Mhm.
You know
Yeah,
what I mean? So it might be a difference.
maybe.
Plus she
Right.
and I think that water might be magical, but they never brought that up. So
Right, I know, there is
that's
like-
low-key.
So yeah, but then like when he took her to the cave,
Alright.
he actually pulled like a chosen one, like knocked her out of her body, kind of crap.
Like
which was-
Doctor
Yeah, I was like,
Strange
oh, yeah, Doctor
thing.
Strange her, yeah.
which I thought was odd.
I actually like that scene. I thought the graphics was nice on that.
It's not,
That's one part.
the
I
special
enjoyed.
effects,
Like, that's
the
cool.
look of the film. Again, like that stuff, the production, I have no problems with pretty much
Except for all
most
that
of that.
camera work.
The camera work is a different
Yeah.
thing, but like
Yeah.
you know, the lighting wasn't terrible in most of the film. Like there are some definite elements that it's like, okay, they dialed those things in, but like these days, if you don't, what are you doing? Like
Right.
you should be dialing those things in. There's a moment in her
And she never gets
visions,
questioned by the cops at the end.
right? There's a moment with her visions where we get to see her go through it several times, which I understand. The first time you go through it,
Yeah.
I just died. Second time, deja vu. I get those didn't bother me. But when we get to where she's finally about to
Yeah.
go save the girls from him, the moment she has the vision, she runs through the bushes, takes like 20 seconds to get to the diner. But then
I
when
know.
she has the vision, she gets in the car and has to
Takes the
drive
taxi, it
up a
takes
freaking
forever to-
highway and get around a log
Yes,
truck. and
Final
then when she
Destination
cuts the log truck
situation.
off,
Oh,
when she cuts it off,
Yeah.
she could have just waited 1 second
Oh,
and just
there was
turned
no
in the driveway.
reason.
Like
No.
all of that
there was no
pointless.
reason for her to cut that driver off.
No,
That
not at
part
all.
made me
Zero.
scream out loud. I screamed with laughter out loud when I first saw that, and I was in the theaters when I saw
There's
this.
so many
Okay,
moments
I was
like
in the
that in this
theater.
movie.
I
Like, yeah.
said,
So many.
"Ma'am, ma'am, you did
Yeah.
not have
Yeah.
to cut off this truck.
Yeah.
He was about to pass where you needed to turn."
Yes. And I'm
Oh
pretty
my
sure
gosh.
the girls started a forest fire because when they leave the woods to go to the diner, they didn't put out that fire.
No.
The fire was still going.
No,
Well,
at
I
all.
mean,
Oh my
but
god.
and,
At
Why
and,
couldn't
all.
they wait 2
Oh
hours?
my gosh.
and what about the timing of all that? Because the first time she walked her ass through the
Yes.
woods,
Yeah,
the
30
Yeah.
second time she is in a car
Right.
Yeah.
and somehow gets there at damn near the same
same
exact
time.
moment.
Right.
Later.
Yeah.
She gets later because she
Oh.
gets
You're
there
later,
after he gets
after
there.
him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-mm.
it made no sense.
I know.
Um,
I think I feel like she was waiting for him. She was waiting for him so she can purposely hit him.
And
with
she
the
did that
car.
twice.
It was just
She
like one of those
drove
things.
through buildings
Right.
Yeah.
twice in this movie.
Yeah.
the cement wall
Listen,
that the
she
ambulance
caused a
goes
lot
through
of
drives
damage.
me nuts because she drove through it. There's no damage to the ambulance. It flew like it was a go-kart
Yeah.
because it's not a 12,000-pound ambulance. Obviously,
Oh my god.
it knocks a
no.
dude out of the air. Whatever, that's her vision. Fine, but the ambulance doing that is not physically even possible. Lands, she does squirrely. She comes back. It still looks pristine. They get the girls in the freaking thing, and a minute later, it breaks down, and Dakota Johnson looks like, "Why? Why is
How
this
would this
happening? I don't
happening? Yeah.
understand."
Yeah.
You drove through
Yeah.
a wall, lady.
Yeah.
Come on. Like that's why
You're
it's
No,
lucky your
facts.
axles
Front
are
axle
still
should
intact.
be
Like,
snapped.
yeah, exactly. Right.
Yes. And also Ezekiel.
I mean,
the fact
that the most
Okay.
believable thing is that the ambulance did break down eventually.
That is the most
it did
believable
break
part.
down
Right.
so they
eventually.
felt like it was
That's the
enough,
most
I guess.
believable thing.
For the plot. Mhm.
What's funny is
But
the lights
also-
flickered like it was a battery problem, but it was the engine having a problem.
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
cinematic, whatever. But
Right.
But the fact that Ezekiel's
kept
power
happening.
move also is just choking out women because I don't ever see him use
Yeah.
any kind of powers. He just chokes them out. And
No.
if you
Right.
look at the scene in the subway, he like beats up the two male cops. And then when he gets to the female cop, he chokes her out and kills her.
Yeah.
can't punch a woman in a Sony.
Oh
movie.
my god, that's
It
so
doesn't
Well, you
funny.
can
work.
choke
I didn't
her out
even
and kill
notice
her.
that. Yeah,
No,
yeah.
but you can strangle
Man.
her.
Right.
You can definitely strangle her. You can't
Yeah,
punch her out though.
that's his
Yeah,
power
no.
move, I guess. I don't-
Yeah, that's man.
Yeah.
The other big one about materials and physics is they're in the fireworks factory.
Materials and physics.
She tells them to duck, and like what looks like a standard mortar
Yeah,
from
it was-
4th of July blows out a
like a
perfect
bottle
smooth-sized
rocket.
shape,
Yeah.
right? No
Right.
debris. They go straight through, and then
Like a
later
Roman
she
candle.
peels a piece of the just flimsy metal wall and can deflect them. What?
Yeah, it totally it breaks its own rules. I mean, it's one thing if you set up the rules, as you does, and then you stay within those rules that you set up. But then there's like, nah. For this moment, the rules
Yeah.
change.
But
For this
also,
moment, the
when did
rules
she
change, and
figure
that's
it
good.
out? Like, when
Right.
did she figure it out? When did she figure out?
Yeah, when I really
how
saw
to
that
Her,
situation.
she just gets them conveniently at the right
Like, we
time.
never
Like,
saw, like,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
like, we never saw that connection. Like, because I could say, like, okay, when she was at the pool and she saw her mom, and like now that she's over this trauma, like now all these things are connecting, but that still didn't work. That's not how the scene played, so I can't say that. So like, we never see her actually get to a point where she's like, I think I figured it out, or I think I know how to bounce. Like, she just all of a sudden she Captain America with a shield, and I'm
Well,
just
no,
like,
it was
all
a
right.
typical trope. She was put in the most extreme situation, and it was that moment or nothing at all, and so she had to do it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but how is that responsibility? Like, this doesn't make any sense. And how did they get all three of those characters in the exact same hanging from a freaking rafter predicament?
Every fall was
Right.
that them hanging
Yeah.
on a thing.
Uh-huh.
But for the
Somebody should have
record,
Over the
That's all I'm
fireworks
saying.
factory. Like,
Right.
for the record, I've had a ladder go out from under me before
Oh my
in the
God.
rafters of my garage,
Oh wow.
and I was completely incapable of grabbing onto something and holding myself. It was whack down. But three people are able to definitely
Yeah.
get a hold
dangle and hold on.
Just
of
hanging
cold
on.
ass metal that's probably
Well,
wet too, but okay.
Right. Exactly.
One of them skateboards,
not
so
even
she's
that,
obviously
like
got great
thick
upper body
metal.
strength. The
Yeah.
other one does
Man.
taekwondo, so she obviously has great upper body strength. And then the third one, we
Yeah.
don't know anything about why she
Yeah.
was able
Not
to
to
do it.
mention
she
skateboarding on
reads
a
a lot
piece
of
of
books.
metal.
She reads books,
Reads
So
a
it's
so
a
she
lot
can
of
hold on.
this.
Makes
Yeah.
sense.
It's
I
a
like
lot
it.
of this. You know, she got good grip strength. You know,
Oh man.
that's what she got.
Did they ever say Peter Parker's name? Did they say we're naming the
No.
baby Peter?
They never
No.
did.
they
No.
Just
No.
Ben
Never.
Parker.
You're
We
just
never
supposed
got
to
the
know.
baby's
Never
name.
say Peter.
The
Yeah.
one the
Ooh.
one seed they another seed they plant another seed they plant early on that
Mhm.
never pays off.
Right. Exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. And also just the jokes about
figures-
Ben getting
Mhm.
shot later in life is just terrible.
Oh my God.
You never got shot at in Queens before?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Like.
Wah,
Damn.
wah.
It's like we
I
get
know.
his name is Ben Parker. We get who he
Yeah, we
is.
know. We
You
got
don't have
it.
to do more than that.
Yeah.
We get
Yeah.
it.
Like you might as well look at the
Like,
camera.
It's like they, yeah.
Guess who I
Right.
am?
You know what I mean? It's me.
The only thing that would have made it better is like
you guys.
you've never been shot in Queens. If Adam Scott had just turned to the camera and gone,
Right. Uh-huh.
Right.
Might as well.
yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
actually something. There's more acting from Adam Scott in the 3 minutes he's on screen, especially in the beginning of the movie when they're doing the paramedic
Right.
stuff. Like him
Mhm.
standing outside the car, you can read like 20 emotions on his face
Yes.
while she's sitting there deadpanned.
Oh my God.
And I'm just like, this is so weird. Like,
Yeah.
you could have hired I don't know. You could have hired anyone. A Rock probably could have done better than
You
Dakota
could have
Johnson.
emoted more. Yeah, like
Mhm.
even when he's explaining to her
The
to
Rock
not be
probably could have done
awkward
better.
when the little boy gives her the picture.
I got more emotion from The Rocks and Everything Ever All at Once than I've ever gotten from Dakota Johnson. No, I said this in my review on Letterboxd, and I don't normally do this, and I'm not trying to be mean, but like Law
Right.
said, this is not your gig, Dakota. Like
No.
this, you need to find another
Maybe
job
comedies.
because-
Especially since
But-
she's like one of the biggest ones who
Yeah.
rails against the title of Nepo Baby. Like,
Yeah.
Right.
Like.
But she is
Right.
the
It's
very
like,
you are
Yeah.
benefiting from that when you are not doing the work to
you know what I
earn
mean?
it.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
some nepo babies out here that's uber talented that you're
Oh,
like,
my.
I
Yes.
understand why
They
your
are fully
parents-
aware
why
that
your
they have
parents
this
did this
open
thing.
door, but when they
You
walk
feel
through it, they
me?
put the work in.
Right,
She just
exactly.
They
walks
take
through the door
advantage
and
of it.
just
They put the work in.
Well,
She's like,
okay,
"Here's my
but
mark."
She'd be like, I'm a
I'm not trying to
Johnson,
be
right?
again mean, but who are her parents?
Well,
A
Griffith.
B actress and a TV star. Like,
Mhm.
all right, they're famous because they've been around a long time. But were they ever like? Was Don
But
Johnson
that
really
don't-
ever like?
but that don't-
"Woohoo"?
I mean,
Or we
Melanie
just have
Griffith
nostalgia.
That
was.
don't mean
She
She did
was
make
like.
it.
that don't
She
mean
had
she
her
was
moment
no
in
Nessie.
time.
popular.
her
Yeah.
stepfather
At
being
one point.
Antonio, her grandmother
Yeah,
being
exactly.
Tippy Head,
Right.
Yeah.
kind of thing.
But that don't
She does have a
mean
huge-
she can't
She
go
had
get no
nepo
lessons
upon
though.
nepo.
That means she got money to go get lessons. Like,
Right.
I don't stop
Some,
nothing.
some coach.
Go get some
yeah.
lessons, babes.
Yeah.
Some kind of
You can afford
coaching.
it. You made some money off this movie.
Exactly.
even if it
Definitely.
didn't make
Like, what are
money.
we doing?
You got
Stop,
paid.
babes. Come get it together.
No.
And, you know, and it's
I
not like
just
she
feel like it
couldn't
was
learn.
too many
A lot of people
I feel
can
like it was just too
learn.
many people in the movie.
Exactly.
That's a good point. No, I actually
It
think
was
that
just too many
she
people.
is to Kristen Stewart what everybody thought Kristen Stewart was. She
Yeah.
is
Right.
that actress Kristen Stewart that got blamed to be and very
Ex-
deadpan.
yeah.
And Kristen
Because she
showed
just
that
didn't
that
have
was
the
just
greatest
that role.
material, but she got good
Yeah,
material.
totally.
She
Oh my
really showed
God.
what she could do.
But
Oh my
Dakota's
God.
that way
No,
in
for
Need for
sure.
Speed. She's this way in 50 Shades.
A
She's this way
project
in
after
Lead.
project after
Mhm.
project.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Peanut butter
she's not
falcon,
really.
she's the same. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
she keep getting hired. Somebody put me in, coach. You know what I'm
just
saying? Give me one
like,
chance.
we could try
Her
some
best
of it.
performance was embarrassing Ellen. That's about it.
Yeah. Right. Man, that was like, that's hard to watch. You're just like,
Anybody
"Oof."
want to take another jab at Madam Web?
Madam Web.
No, I got to.
I
I
have
just
one
got
more
to.
thing,
Oh, okay,
but
go
I
ahead.
can't remember.
Go ahead, Blah.
I can't remember, but go ahead. Go ahead. See if I remember.
Oh
Go
no,
ahead.
I was just gonna say I just got a text message from the dead horse that said enough already. but I'm
He's like,
now
I get
I'm
it. Yeah.
There is one more. I'll throw one more. They started on a spider web, which I'm like, okay, fine. Throw the cliche out at the beginning. It works. But then every time they broke glass anywhere in the film, it was spider web.
Made a spider web shape.
Yeah. Let's rack focus to the
got
glass.
Oh, I got it. I
Yeah.
remember. I remember.
Go ahead.
I remember now. Yeah, okay. So she's been knowing Ben Parker this entire time. So she not Auntie Cassandra to the family? Like she
No, I guess
like if something like
yeah, like
'cause you
where
would
is
think
she
that, like,
ever like
where is
in
she
Peter's life
in his life?
like
Because if this is like your buddy and we were like, doing the EMS thing or
Right.
tech, whatever we were doing, you came to my sister's like baby shower, like if he died, like wouldn't you think she would be like she would see the death before it happened? Honestly, how did he die?
I know.
She's not a friend. I take it back.
She's not a friend, yeah. I mean,
Well, I'm surprised
She's
that
not a
she
friend.
didn't hook up with
How did he
Adrian
die?
Toomes in the end because they're in a whole nother universe.
yeah.
Let's start like a Spider-Man faction. But I do say this: Sony has a tendency to dupe us with stuff because you made it seem like we were going to see these women in costume, and we saw a vision,
Saw
a couple
nothing.
of visions of them in
Vision.
costume.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like,
and then at
gotta
the
put that in the
end,
trailer for sure. They're like, yeah.
and what are we doing with them big blue blocker glasses she had on? I said we could have updated
What?
this look.
Like,
I mean,
yeah.
we
That wasn't even
could've-
2003.
We
That
could have
wasn't cool in
updated
2003.
this.
Like, yeah.
They look like the glasses you put on when like your eyes get dilated. Like,
Yeah,
that's what she
exactly,
had.
yeah.
Like,
You
what are
just
we
had
doing?
LASIK surgery. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. What are we
It
doing?
was around then. We had LASIK, right? It was there.
Yeah, of course.
Well, plus
Yeah.
a terrible way for her to lose vision and the ability to walk because it's just like,
Oh my
how
God.
about the gift is so powerful she just can't use her eyes anymore? Can't we just do that? Not random crap hurting her back and her
Honestly,
eyes.
Exactly.
But,
yeah,
but
yeah.
my question was, I was confused on how she lost the ability to walk. Like I saw like the eye thing. I was like, okay,
the
it came through,
firework
boom,
went off
it
in her
blinded
face.
her. I was like, right, one of her face, it blinded her. Okay, that makes sense, and they pulled her out, but like, did the sea take away her legs? Like,
I assumed I missed her getting hurt on a piece of scaffolding on the fall down.
That's what I thought too. I was like,
It was
what?
the poison
Right?
from Ezekiel finally did its trick and made her paralyzed.
And took her legs. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
I'm doing my best. That's all I have to work
Okay.
with. Her mom made her
I mean,
paralyzed. so she was mad at
honestly,
her
that's
anyway. I
better
don't
than
know.
anything they did. So I'm crying.
The first
That's
time he
hilarious.
used his poison, I didn't even understand it.
I'm gonna take the
So-
poison because the whole time I was like, that poison kills everybody. That poison kills everybody. So like, you would think because she got bit by essentially the same spider, that poison really shouldn't have an effect on her. But I'm gonna take it
That's
like
what I
that.
thought
She lost her
too.
legs
You think?
because of the poison.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that makes
Alright.
perfect sense, Law.
Still stupid, but all right.
I know we still have Will here, but for some reason it's now a still
Yeah,
image of Will looking over at
froze
Law.
now.
Or no, he's
Will
looking
still with
in the
us?
real footage. He's looking at the chat. I'm wondering why you guys are not chatting as much. That said, I think we should rate this film because I know we have Brian has got to cut it short tonight and get going, so we got to make sure we get out of here. So why don't we go ahead and rate in reverse order? Will, are you still there?
Brian, you stay leaving us.
I don't
What's
hear Will,
reverse
so
order?
we'll start with Lala. What do you rate Madam Wet?
Shucks. I give this film a. I give it a I give it a 5 for effort. It's better than Morbius, so I have to give it a 5. So because it's better than Morbius, and I'll give it a 5 just because I love Adam Scott and I enjoyed him and I enjoyed Mike Epps. To me, they were like the best thing about the film, by far. So
and they have a total of like 4% minutes of screen time. Yeah.
Right, exactly. Janine, what did you think?
Take it back, 4.5.
4.5. Okay,
Sorry.
dropped it a little bit, but still 4.5.
4.5. Yeah, dropped a little bit.
Janine, what do you think?
I will give it a 4. I did like it slightly more than Morbius. There were scenes that had potential, but honestly, it just let all of that down.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did not like any of the characters. Dakota Johnson was not the person to lead this film. They promised us interesting things and we just did not get them. So, but the potential I saw, it was brighter and kind of better to look at, I guess, than Morbius in some ways.
Yeah.
But
you could see it.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah. So
I'll give you that.
4.
Will Wilkins, what do you rate Madam Web?
I too give it a 4.
I too 4. No.
Dude.
No, and the only reason I will is because at least it's probably because I saw Morbius first, but I'll give it more credit for seeing all of the different spider costumes that we did get in it. And okay, yeah, that's about it. Those not enough of those scenes, but they were at least cool.
Right.
When they were there, they were cool.
I almost should take away a point from the
for
girls
sure.
were never your fate. I was, but okay.
Yeah.
We'll stick with 4.
They're mine. They're mine, she says. All right, Brian, what do you think?
So I dislike this one the same as Morbius, so it's a 4, but for different reasons.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Facts.
So,
Yeah.
All right,
Okay.
Yeah.
that's fair.
that's a 4.
What about you,
Now you
Steve?
guys are making me feel like I was really harsh on this movie because my rating is way worse than anything you guys have given. I actually liked Morbius more.
I
I
loved it.
at least like vampires, so that drew me to Morbius a little bit more. Like I
Okay.
talked about, the look and the feel wasn't terrible. This, I picked it apart to the point where I was taking notes, pausing the movie, writing it down, pushing it back, which could have just been that me, I was basically amping myself up and finding things to look for after that. But at a certain point, what are you going to do? And it didn't help that my wife was sitting next to me doing the same thing. And so we were like feeding off each other, like a feedback.
You're like, oh yeah.
But even after this discussion and after everything you guys agreed, there wasn't one thing I said that it wasn't pointed out by you guys. So I'm going to stick with my rating of a
There you
1.
go.
It is
Oh
a
my
1.
god.
Okay.
I respect that.
Yeah, can't stand it.
Also, can I say you actually on Letterboxd you actually gave Morbius like 1.
It's a 3 out of 10 on Morbius because I gave it 1.5 stars.
on Letterboxd.
So the 3 turns into 1.5.
Okay.
So I always just think of it that way. So this one I gave a half star on Letterboxd and I give it a 1.
Oh, you were comparing it to this. Oh, you were comparing it to this. Oh,
Yeah.
I thought you meant like on Letterboxd I gave it a 3.5, and I was like, no, you didn't.
No,
I'm
on
like,
Letterboxd I
you're
gave it
lying, sir. We don't do that
a
on the
3
podcast.
for
But no,
Morbius,
you're
but it's a
fine.
1.5. But yeah.
Yeah. I got you now.
Okay.
No, I got you now. No. Yeah, you were equating it to like the 1 out of 10. I got you.
Right.
No worries.
So we do have the movies for next week already. We're going to do this really weird kind of duo that most people don't know about, but I'll put it out there. We're going to be doing Goodfellas and My Blue Heaven, which is actually 2 sides of the same coin. Both stories about Hank Hill or Henry Hill, the mobster from the 1970s. And so Goodfellas is obviously his true story of his life.
Right.
Scorsese's embellishing a lot. But the screenwriter of Goodfellas was actually married to another screenwriter who happened to be listening in on his interviews with Scorsese and Hank Hill and decided, I'm going to go ahead and write the aftermath, but I'm going to make it a comedy. And it's with Steve Martin playing the same character as Ray Liotta. Goodfellas, My Blue Heaven is a pseudo sequel.
That's funny.
So we're going to watch those and see what you guys think of them paired up.
Yes.
And we'll go from there. You will not see MrSniDBitS on the
real
show
quick.
from here on out. I will be a voice from above, if you will, or below, or to the side.
The void.
At least until
The voice of God.
probably till like November, December. But yeah, you were going to say something, Lon. Go ahead.
Yeah, like real quick, I just want to say, I wanted to punch Dakota Johnson in the throat at the end of the movie, towards the end of the movie, when she kept predicting stuff before it happened, we get it. This is your ability. You don't have to do that. You don't have to say bless you, and then the person is like, "What?"
Oh yeah, that
Shoot.
was
like
I
that's
know.
annoying. Like
At
that's
the very end. Like,
that's annoying.
Yeah.
Like
oh, yeah.
It's tricky.
like we know from the ambulance
From the
chase
movie that we
now
just
you can
watched.
get 'em.
Like,
Right.
Yeah.
Right, you know what I mean? We get it. You
yeah,
don't.
yeah.
We get that you're like
I
you're
know.
symbiotic now with these abilities. We don't
Yes.
need that.
But yeah.
Right.
I wanted to punch you
Well-
in the throat. You know.
Well,
Alright,
Law, if
that's
you
all.
get the urge to punch
Funny.
people in the throat, then you definitely need to watch Roadhouse. So
Right.
Yeah.
I'm just throwing that out there.
Sweet.
Say goodbye to throats in that movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
That said, this has
That's
been
I want that on a
episode
t-shirt.
28 of season 3 of The Real Study. We do appreciate you guys all stopping by. Thank you, Will Wilkins, for being here
Thanks, Will.
and suggesting these
Thank
movies. Great
you.
conversation. And of course, thank you to my hosts for The Real Study. We will see you guys next week.
Bye, guys.